Hey, good evening. Welcome to the August 19th Arcata City Council meeting. I will be sitting in for Mayor White just for the beginning part of the meeting, and she'll be coming in as soon as she can get here, and will take over from me. So welcome. For those wishing to make a comment during the meeting, either for an individual agenda item or during the second oral and written communications period, under agenda item 11, there are 3 ways to do so. If you are here in person, please line up behind the podium when the item you would like to speak on is accepting public comment. If you are logged on to Zoom, click raise your hand when it is time for public comment on the item you wish to speak on. And if you are on the phone, press *9 on your phone to raise your hand. When it is your turn, you will be prompted to dial *6 on your phone. And for these items, we will be taking public comment in person first and then moving on to online comments. And we won't be going back and forth. So when the time comes and you're wanting to comment, please either line up at the podium or raise your virtual hand. Right, so our next item is our land acknowledgement. The City of Arcata acknowledges that the lands we are located on are the unceded ancestral lands of the Wiyot tribe. The land that Arcata rests on is known in the Wiyot language as Gudini, meaning over in the woods or among the redwoods. Past actions by local, state, and federal governments removed the Wiyot and other indigenous peoples from the land and threatened to destroy their cultural practices. The City of Arcata acknowledges the Wiyot community, their elders both past and present, as well as future generations. This acknowledgement seeks to aid in dismantling the legacy narratives of settler colonialism. Next, we will have a flag salute for those of you who would like to join.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would the city clerk please take roll?
Vice Mayor Atkins Salazar,
Here.
Councilmember Matthews,
Here.
Councilmember Stillman,
Present.
Mayor White, and Councilmember Schaefer are absent. They will be joining us later in the meeting, but we do have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Next, we have ceremonial matters. Item A is a proclamation recognizing September 6th through 12th, 2026 as Suicide Prevention Week, and Councilmember Stillman will be reading this.
Thank you. Suicide Prevention Week. Whereas suicide is a national and statewide public health problem, and suicide prevention is national and statewide responsibility, and whereas suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States, and the second leading cause of death among 15 to 34-year-olds. And whereas in over 90% of the people who die by suicide have a diagnosable and treatable mental health condition, although often that condition was not recognized or treated. And whereas organizations such as the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention are dedicated to saving lives and bringing hope to those affected by suicide through research, education, advocacy, and resources for those who have lost someone to suicide and who struggle, and urge that we encourage initiatives in Arcata based on the goals contained in the bold 10-year national strategy for suicide prevention and the California Suicide Prevention Plan. Therefore, it be proclaimed that the City Council of the City of Arcata hereby recognizes September 6th through the 12th as Suicide Prevention Week, and also recognizes September 10th as the World Suicide Prevention Day. It's dated August 19th, 2026, and it's signed by Mayor White, and it's being accepted by the Board Secretary for the Greater San Francisco Bay Area, chapter of American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, Heather Freitas. Are you here, Heather? Okay. So I'm going to take it to you, but I have to say, when I lived in San Francisco in the late 60s, I was a suicide prevention volunteer. And so this is sort of dear to my heart. So thank you for coming today.
Break free.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. So on behalf of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and the Greater Bay Area San Francisco chapter, which is what we operate out of in Humboldt. Thank you for adopting this proclamation. Everyone who's doing work in Humboldt County around this and our upcoming Arcata Out of the Darkness Community Walk, which is it's an event that brings our community together around hope, healing, and honoring for mental health challenges and suicide prevention. It's all volunteer led. So we're also volunteers, just like you were. Yeah. And so everyone who's doing that kind of work in Humboldt County, who's connected to the committee that we do our walk out of and the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, volunteer led, we also do need more volunteers so we could do more work and programming up here. And the upcoming walk is really what I want to share because that's a way that anybody can get involved, especially if you've been impacted by these issues. It's going to be hosted this year on September 27th. It's a Sunday. We always host it on the Sunday. And it'll be at the Arcata Plaza. You can find information on our event at afsp.org/Arcata. We host it annually in September. And anyone's welcome to come. It's a free event. Just if people have questions, you can go to the site and you can send an email and it usually goes to me. And then I'll respond when I can. Because last year when I was here accepting this proclamation, I was pregnant. So now I have a baby and I'm busy, okay? So I feel bad because it takes me a little while to respond now, but someone else is like my absolute priority. But thank you so much for reminding me every year about this proclamation, and we update the statistics. And, you know, it's an issue that everybody who's involved in it cares deeply about because we're all personally impacted, and I know it greatly impacts our community. So thank you.
And thank you and all of the volunteers. And thank you for bringing that to our attention that everyone really is a volunteer. I think that's important for people to know. So thank you for doing that.
Thanks.
Our second ceremonial item is a certificate of appreciation for David Loya for his 19 and a half years of service to the city of Arcata. And I get to read this. Whereas David began his distinguished and decades-long career with the city of Arcata in 2005 as an assistant planner, was promoted to senior planner in 2008, and then selected to underfill the deputy director community development position later that year, finally beginning his tenure as Community Development Director on April 30th, 2016, a position he has held for over 10 years. David has exemplified outstanding public service throughout his career, highlighted by his dedication to building strong relationships and his recognition that collaboration and trust are the foundation of effective local government. And whereas David has worked diligently to balance the diverse needs and interests of the city of Arcata through thousands of hours of thoughtful planning, public engagement, and community meetings that have culminated in the adoption of the city's updated General Plan 2045, the Gateway Area Plan, the Local Coastal Element, Coastal Zoning Ordinance, and other seminal policies that will guide Arcata's future for generations. And whereas David has demonstrated a true commitment to long-range and innovative planning, incorporating the best available science and emerging ideas into policies addressing climate change, sea level rise, housing, population growth, and natural resource protection, while representing Arcata at the state and regional level through collaborations such as the Integrated Climate Adaptation and Resiliency Program, and helping bring new ideas and funding opportunities to the city. And whereas David has consistently championed thoughtful development and equitable planning practices, authoring and advancing policies that promote a safe, welcoming, and racially equitable community where all people have the opportunity to live, work, learn, and thrive. And whereas David has provided steady leadership and unwavering support to the Community Development Department, particularly during the unprecedented challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic, navigating rapidly changing public health protocols while continuing to serve the public, support his staff, and ensure the continued functioning of the department during an exceptionally difficult period. And whereas David has excelled at collaboration across city departments, jurisdictions, and sectors, providing support and encouragement to staff while bringing joy, good humor, and new ideas to his interactions with colleagues. Whereas, after nearly 2 decades of dedicated service, David leaves a lasting legacy of excellence, integrity, and commitment to the city and its residents that will continue to benefit the community for years to come. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Arcata hereby recognizes and commends David Loya for serving the people of Arcata for almost 20 years. We wish him all the best and commemorate his retirement on August 31st, 2026.
Oh, thank you. I said last time that this is my last staff report. I guess this isn't exactly a staff report, but I do have a few things I'd love to say if I could. First off, I really want to thank you for this proclamation. You know, it's been a long time coming. I really want to thank the community first off. You know, it's diversity of opinions, diversity of people. With, you know, Cal Poly, the diversity constantly changes. It's been a really rich and exciting environment. And the folks who were here first, you know, I got to stand on their shoulders. So I want to thank the community. Really want to thank my colleagues. This is an amazing and dedicated crew. Everyone from, you know, the line person at the treatment plant, working facilities every day to make these facilities what they are, all the way up to my colleagues at the management level. Such a dedicated, amazing crew. Their commitment cannot be overstated. I want to thank the council. This council and the many councils that I've worked for before have supported me, have supported this community, have been there in some really deep, dark times, and also been there in some really glorious, shining times. You've supported me, and I hope that I've supported you. I want to talk a little bit about the impact this job has had on me, and some of the impact that working with this great team and this great community has had on them. Some things, you know, have had dubious notoriety. You mentioned a few of them, the Gateway Plan, the General Plan. You know, when I was given the job, they also handed me 5 dress shirts with a target on the back, so that's part of it. But there's also been some things that, you know, have a really subtle impact that don't last, that don't show up in proclamations. I counted back, and over my tenure, my team and I have secured over $75 million in grants. Those grants were typically leveraging other outside monies. We've built 488 units of affordable housing together with our partners. Hundreds of families through either our first-time homebuyer program, our owner-occupied rehab program, or families that are struggling to make rent through our tenant-based rental assistance program, receiving those. Hundreds of families impacted in the community during my tenure. You'd mentioned some of the connections through the Integrated Climate Adaptation and Resiliency Program Technical Advisory Council that I sit on. You gotta love the state for their long-winded names of programs and tax and whatnot. But, you know, it started as a, you know, a way to connect. I was really looking, this was about 8 years ago, for a way to try and share what we were doing in the city of Arcata. A lot of policies at that time, we felt like were going over rural heads and weren't really focused on, you know, what were important to rural communities. And I just wanted someone to hear. And I feel like through that program I was really able to make connections that made a difference, not only in our community, but in a lot of rural communities. And that was something that, you know, this city, city government and the council really supported me in, and I think it had tangible impacts. Some of the changes that they made in the Strategic Growth Council funding mechanisms, the way that they allocated the funds were in part a direct result of that. And several others. So these are very subtle things that happen just in the background, you know, from the work that, you know, your staff are doing. I don't count these as my successes. I count them as team successes. But really the biggest impact to me were the connections with the community, my colleagues, and the supportive council members that I mentioned before over the years. It's been a privilege working for a highly engaged, intelligent community, for the aligned councils, supportive teams, and doing interesting work over the years. And I truly mean it. I stood on the shoulders of giants. I was thinking about Alex Stillman the other day, who I think was, back in the 70s, one of the first women council members, the first woman council member for the city of Arcata, and probably the youngest council member at that up to that time. She's going to correct me.
Well, yes, I was the youngest one until 1974.
Till 1974. I appreciate that modification. I accept your
And then
your
I
amendment.
became the eldest.
But the work that folks were doing at that time, the works that council did at that time was so revolutionary, so groundbreaking. And, whether it's the Arcata Marsh or the Elder Grove Industrial Park, the work that they were doing was truly phenomenal. And we got to stand on those giant shoulders during my career to do the work that I was able to do. So I want to thank them for that, and thank you all for that. And so, yeah, I was blessed to be part of the lineage of the dedicated public servants that are constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible to serve this community in ways that we are fortunate enough to oftentimes take for granted. Kind of in closing, I'm transported back to 1988 in my own life. When I was standing around the garage, my friend Jay's garage, Jay, Joel, and I were having this little thought experiment, time capsule. And the game was you pick what you thought the other people were going to be when they grew up. And they had me pegged as a public servant. And they got a kick out of how pissed I got at them calling me a public servant. I don't know what I thought a public servant was, but I didn't know at the time what that was. But I can tell you, it's been a pure joy and honor to be a public servant. And, excuse me, this work is deeply meaningful to me. I value what public servants do, and if I have the opportunity at this point to hold them in higher esteem, please accept that. I leave you in good hands. Jennifer Dart, the second community development director that you have operating in staff right now. We're really getting stuff done because we got all kinds of community development directors. She's been with the city for almost as long as I've been back with the city again. I think hired in 2012, 2014. It's been a while. She knows these programs inside and out. I couldn't have done anything that I did without her support and organizational capacity and understanding of financial, the city's financial budgets and whatnot. So I'm leaving you in good hands, and I hope that I'm leaving the city in a better condition than I found it. So thank you so much for this proclamation. It's been a real joy, and I will always have fond memories of working for the city.
And thank you also for all your time with us and everything that you've done. It's been really appreciated, and thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah, I'll just echo that. I feel like I learned so much from you when it was just the 3 council members that got a chance to, work on the Gateway Area Plan, and just the institutional knowledge that you have. Keep it high level. I think we like to joke about that a lot. So maybe we'll toast to keeping things high level. I wish you so much success, and thank you so much for all you've done for the city. I really, really appreciate you.
I was trying to keep it high level at that point because I remember when I did the staff report for the Craftsman's Mall project, I literally spoke for about an hour straight explaining CEQA and the EIR for that. I learned after that. I learned I wasn't always as smart as I am today. I learned through that process that the council doesn't want to hear an hour on CEQA, so keep it high level.
Yeah, and thank you. You're always so welcoming to us for questions and, coming in as a new council member and having so much to learn. And you were always willing to sit down and talk about things to me and explain things, and you never made me feel less than for learning. And so I appreciate your patience and just your true heart for the community and for your job and your colleagues. Your department is a big source of compliments, as well as some others in the city when we go to lots of conferences and places and our little town is pointed out for things. You are part of that. So
Yeah.
yeah, thank you. And the flowers are from us on the council, so that's for
Thank
you.
you.
And thank you so
Appreciate
much.
that.
Couldn't you have made it to 20 though? 19 and a half? Really? Come
I was thinking the same thing. All right. All right, welcome, Councilmember Schaefer. Item 5, report by commission or committee. The first one is to receive an annual report from the Energy Committee. Thank you, Mr. Winkler.
Peter, right, could you pass these to the council members? Right, well, thank you for having me here. I'm Michael Winkler. I'm the chair of the Arcata Energy Committee and a long-term member that we've had a lot of other long-term members on the committee, and that's been really great to bring that kind of experience to the city on energy issues. One larger area for the Energy Committee has been called the All Electric Initiative that buildings in our community and throughout the United States use a large amount of fossil fuels. And so one important initiative that I've been involved in professionally and the city has been involved in is converting existing uses of fossil fuels for vehicles and for buildings to electricity, and for that electricity to come from renewable sources. The city has done a number of projects related to this. One is the switching to more energy efficient street lighting with LEDs, and supporting development and installation of electric vehicle charging within the city, and using renewable energy self-generation credit transfer program. And also to switch city vehicles increasingly from fossil fuels to electricity, and to start switching buildings within the city from natural gas to electricity. The committee and the city have also worked closely with Redwood Coast Energy Authority, the county energy agency, and we've had regular presentations by the director or the executive director and the individual directors of RCEA, and work in close collaboration with them. And we're working on the Climate Action Committee in conjunction with the Redwood Coast Energy Authority. The county is also developing a regional climate action plan, which city staff in Arcata is also working on, and we're going to be increasingly synchronizing the activities of the city of Arcata and the Arcata Energy Committee with the county's climate action plan. And also, we have a climate resiliency framework for the city, so the city and the citizens of Arcata can adapt it to changes that occur, and we can make the city and the residents of Arcata more resilient to the inevitable changes that are coming with sea level rise and climate change. Another issue that some community members have expressed concern about is that even though the excessive energy use tax has been very effective in discouraging high energy use, their concern has been that it potentially could act as a disincentive to electrification. The vice chair of the committee, Andrea Allstone, has looked into that and done a preliminary analysis. And if I'm paraphrasing her correctly, her conclusion was that a energy efficient home that was all electric and even with 2 electric vehicles would still be below the threshold for the tax. And so at this point, I think at least where I'm coming from, and I think some of the members of the committee are coming from, is that it's not necessary to make a change in the tax because it already is not a disincentive, and it's more of a perception rather than a reality as far as that concern. As far as goals for the next, fiscal year, continue working on the climate action plan, continue transportation mode shift from fossil fuel powered vehicles to electric vehicles and to bicycles and walking. Continue on the all electric initiative and support low carbon options in the community and in city facilities. And work on improving compliance with the state energy code, which was adopted at the beginning of this year. And keep working on reducing greenhouse gas emissions in city facilities. So any questions from the council on the Energy Committee?
Thank you so much. And thanks for these handouts too. I appreciate that.
Well, also, another thing that I'm involved with the city is that I want to thank the city council and city staff very strongly for something that I've been very actively involved in for more than 10 years now, which is eliminating graffiti in Arcata. And I appreciate the significant recognition from the council that I got at a past meeting. I personally am devoting roughly 1,000 hours to graffiti removal, and I patrol the city weekly and multiple times a week to remove graffiti. And this is especially visible with the plaza, which is largely graffiti free, and Valley West is largely graffiti free, and throughout the city. I think that if you notice, you can also see that there's much less graffiti within the city. And I appreciate that I have a standing charge account with Hensel's where I can buy all the supplies that I need. And thank you for your continuing support. And my goal has always been making Arcata a graffiti-free city and destroying the graffiti subculture within Arcata.
Thank you, Michael, and also thanks to the Energy Committee for all of the work and the recommendations. We truly appreciate your work.
And then finally, I was horrified, as we all were, by the catastrophic fire on January 2nd. And after doing some personal investigation, I came to the conclusion that fires like this are basically inevitable with the construction that we have in the downtown area of Arcata. And with further investigation and coming across a report from the Arcata Fire District, I came to the conclusion that what's going to be necessary is a mandatory retrofit of the whole greater downtown area. And so I met with Mayor White. I met with Tabitha Miller, who's the Assistant City Manager and Finance Director. And I presented before the Arcata Fire District and met personally with Randy Mendoza, who was a former city manager and police chief and also is on the fire district board. And so what I'm asking for is for the council to put on the agenda an investigation to build on the report done by the fire district about 15 years ago of the financial and technical feasibility of doing mandatory fire sprinkler retrofits, because I think it's the only thing that will prevent future catastrophic fires. And thank you for giving me the time to speak on these topics.
You're welcome. Thank you. Next, we have an annual report from the Parks and Recreation Committee. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. My name is Johnny Kell. This is my second year as chair of the Park and Rec Committee. It is my pleasure to serve. And I want to thank my fellow committee members who are super dedicated, city staff who just does an excellent job preparing us and guiding us every week, and the council for supporting what we have been recommending, and your perspective has been really helpful as well. Our our biggest highlights have been how the committee serves as a voice to the community, for the community, and has helped shape Arcata's Parks program. For example, in 2025, we implemented restrooms being open during park hours at Redwood Park. Get a lot of comments about that when I'm up there from people. It has been amazing for my family. The development of the Carlson skate spot, the little oyster that we have up there, and other skatable features. When I joined the committee, I joined as a skater to try to represent a quiet part of our community, but a vibrant part of our community. I work at Arcata High as the school nurse, and the number one non-team sport there is skateboarding. And I think it fits into that niche of, most of our parks that have swings and slides, they age out at 12. So what do our teens do? They funnel into our skate park, they funnel in now to another skate spot, and they find other places to skate around the city. So with a fellow skater that joined a couple of years ago, Professor Peloso from Cal Poly, we try to bring an educational piece to the committee to try to educate them on maybe the age of our park, the type of park it is compared to our Eureka's Park. But I just want to thank city staff and the committee for the investments that we've made in this area. Skate tourism is a thing, and people in my age group who grew up skating in the 90s are now like driving down the 101, and we're going to cities that have skate parks, and then we're going to that restaurant, maybe we're staying at that hotel. So I think that needs to definitely be like something that we like consider as we develop that. We've advocated for additional maintenance at the Marsh and Wildlife Sanctuary, which has been amazing. Provided important feedback on the design of the Valley West Dog Park, which we put a lot of thought into that and kind of changed direction a little bit on that, and I think it's going to be a really awesome project. And prioritize funding and planning and design for an improved ADA accessible public trail around the perimeter of Enos Park. That came to us from some really fired up community members that live in that neighborhood. And I went out and looked at the site, looked at the dirt track that had been, well used. And while I was there, I saw somebody in a wheelchair try to access it, and they could access like a quarter of it. And then they came back, and it was just such a good example of how amazing that is going to be for people. It's a beautiful field, there's lots of wildlife, and I just think that that's just going to be such a great project. Looking ahead, Enos Park expansion is kind of top of our list of things that we want to do. Further development of skate spot and skateboarding infrastructure, improvements at Mountain View Park, better public access and wayfinding through different signs and different QR codes and whatnot, and continued support for local arts, plaza programming, and thoughtful Measure A investments. So thank you guys for hearing me today. Do you have any questions?
Well, I just want to, I really want to thank the voters in Arcata that approved Measure H, because some of the things you just mentioned happened because of Measure H.
Yay.
And thank you very much for your presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And the bathrooms definitely being open at Redwood Park is
Amazing.
Measure H. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say thanks for bringing up the skate tourism thing, because that was a topic that I recently was exposed to as an idea that people, that's a real thing. And I was talking to some of the folks that were involved in the Willow Creek skate park out there, and
Yeah.
just how is something like this kind of in the middle of nowhere almost, sustained? And it's, yes, the community driving it, but people coming to check out these spots and adding them to their road trip. And I really like that highlight, because I think it's something that, is kind of part of that counterculture that Arcata has always been about. And I feel like a lot of the, those folks are living here in Arcata and wanting to promote that. So thank you for that. And thanks for bringing that perspective to the committee.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I discovered skate tourism just, we travel to Canada every year, and then we decide we take the Oregon coast because there's a skate park in every city. And we've discovered restaurants and places to sleep. And I know people that come up from the Bay Area, they stop in Ukiah, then they hit Willits, and then they hit, I know they plan for Eureka and us. So, and then just up the coast. So it's a real thing. And, some people travel to Europe because, Copenhagen has amazing spots. So, yeah, it's something to definitely think about. And if anybody wants any more information about like ideas that we have on the skate spot subcommittee, we are open to just like talking directly, emailing, meeting, whatever.
I believe McKinleyville is in the process of building quite a skate park. I thought it was housing that was going to be on little knolls.
Yeah.
But it turns out it's actually a skate park.
Yeah, they have like their first edition. They're doing it in as they fundraise. They're doing it in sections, so they're just building parts of the skate park right now. They worked for 20 years on it, and I applaud them for all that they've done. But yeah, that's just added to the places that we can go. I'm dropping my son off up there all the time, and then they're going to the local shops and stores for food and snacks. So it also energizes the local economy in that way as well.
Yeah, thank you. I think I have a couple things, but first of all, you're a great example of how a person can join a committee and really make a difference in a community, because you and, as you mentioned, the other fellow skateboarder have brought a different perspective that's a very popular one, but that maybe wasn't represented prior to you. So I think that's a wonderful example for community members, that being on committees, you actually do have a wonderful voice in your community. So thanks for that. And I was recently at Carlson Park. I took some kids there, and I just wanted to thank staff, APD, everyone, for how clean and safe it is. We actually walked down to the river. There was a family having a picnic at the river, and the kids went in, and it was just a really wonderful use of space. So I'm grateful for that. And I'm also equally excited about the restrooms at Redwood Park. And my only suggestion or ask is that maybe we put a sign on the porta potty to let people know we actually have real bathrooms, because whenever I'm walking by and there's kids like with their parents going in there, I always tell them, hey, we have actual bathrooms. And they're usually really grateful, but people, they just see the porta potty, so they think that's what it is. So it'd be awesome if we could have a sign on there to let people know we have real bathrooms.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
that's my only suggestion.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Right. That takes us to staff reports. All reports shall be specifically limited to city business and shall not request or lead to action by the council at this meeting. Item A is to receive a report from Deputy Director of Environmental Services, Emily Benvey, regarding recreation, parks, and facilities highlights for 2025.
Okay, good evening, council members. So this is a new thing we're doing this year, which is to dovetail the Parks and Rec Committee annual report with a staff report update as well. The reason we're doing that is both the committee and the department historically have combined the annual report, which is great. It has been a really comprehensive document, but really the work of the staff and the work of the committee overlaps, but is not exactly the same. And so the intention was to create more opportunity for our chair to share the committee specific work and impact, and then also take the opportunity to share the department level work. So that's the framing of what we're doing here. And then the other thing I wanted to point out before jumping in is this really is the 2025 calendar year, which we're in August of 2026 now. So some things might feel a little bit like a blast from the past, but still really worth sharing. And then similarly, next year will be a similar cadence. So with that, I am the staff presenter tonight, but really it is the work of our Parks and Recreation and Facilities staff team that is what makes the city go round, truthfully, in our parks, our recreation, and our facilities. So I wanted to start by sharing a little bit about who the staff are and what they do on those different parks and facilities team, as well as our recreation team. So our recreation team has full-time employees, not including myself, and those employees support approximately 80 seasonal employees year-round. So they're not all employed at the same time, but that's a lot of folks we have, and many of those employees are high school, college, early career, younger professionals that we support. The range of programs that the rec team offers includes drop-in activities at the community center, D Street Neighborhood Center, as well as occasionally Redwood Lounge. We have gymnastics programs, ceramics, contract classes, which are outside contractors who partner with the city, youth sports, our youth basketball league specifically. We offer after-school programming, early childhood development funded through First Five's grant program, which is Arcata Play Center and 0 to 1 Playgroup. We have summer camps, we have break camps, which actually I'll pause and say summer camp ended on Friday. We all survived. It was a great success. And now we're looking ahead into the new season. Paired with that, we have youth leadership development opportunities through our leadership and training program. We host a variety of sports tournaments. We support rentals and community events from outside entities, as well as hosting our own community events, such as the lantern ceremony, the bike rodeo, and the holiday craft market. And then finally, we support the Arcata Marsh Interpretive Center staff and programming, as well as liaisoning with the Friends of Arcata Marsh. So, that's what the rec team is up to over the year. And then really the infrastructure that supports all of those recreation programs are maintained and improved by our Parks and Facilities team. And so that team is 10 full-time employees, and we have about 7 seasonal employees who generally come on during the busy growing season. You can consider it every year. That 10 full-time employee team operates and maintains 30 open space areas and parks, 15 playgrounds, 9 athletic fields, and 8 community facilities, such as our community center, D Street Neighborhood Center, Redwood Lodge, Redwood Lounge, City Hall, et cetera, et cetera. So I probably won't spend quite so much time on each slide, but I really wanted to highlight sort of what our city staff team really is made up of. Within our recreation division, we brought several new programs that really helped widen the access and choice that communities have for engaging with our public spaces. One was a pickleball tournament, which was hugely successful. I think we can expect to see that year over year. We expanded our youth basketball offerings into fall after school programming, along with an inaugural Bucket Builders basketball summer camp that focused on really building out skills development for early basketball players. We held our first Explorer Science Camp at Camp Carlson. Reminder, that was 2025, and that was 4 full-day weeks at Carlson Park. Half of those camp spots were reserved for Valley West residents. And I will, spoiler alert for the 2026 annual report, we did just successfully complete our second year of Camp Carlson, and we shifted that to be 9 weeks of half-day camp. And so we're continuing to build on that programming year over year, and certainly will continue into 2027. We also partnered with a volunteer group on the Repair Cafe. That is held at the community center regularly. And there were 497 attendees across 5 sessions supporting skills reuse and community connection. And so if you have something that needs repair, we have a lot of volunteer tinkerers, for lack of a better term, who can help fix whatever it is that needs fixing. And I think every time something actually is successfully fixed, there's like a little bell ring and celebration. So both in alignment with building community and also with the city's zero waste commitments. So by the numbers, numbers are helpful. Stats and data are great. I love them. Our recreation did reach more participants and generated more revenue in 2025. Looking at that, I'm using 2022 as a baseline year because it highlights sort of our post-pandemic emergence, and certainly 2023 and 2024, numbers continue to ramp up. But we have continued to expand our programming, and that has been reflected by an increase in participation. Our drop-in programming is really exploding. There's 261% increase since 2022 of our drop-in program participants, and I would be willing to bet we'll see even more of an increase in 2026. Our summer camps and break camps are a huge program revenue driver. They drive about 58% of our overall program revenue for our recreation division. And with that, our revenue increased 29% since 2022. That is great news. Unfortunately, our expenses increased in a way that outpaced our revenue, that have reflected the minimum wage increases that we've seen year over year while maintaining affordable programming. And so that's been a really hard balancing act. While those numbers look particularly challenging given the current budget impacts to the city, I will remind the council that all of our recreation programs, not all, 90% of our recreation programs that we offer are revenue positive. So even though our expenses have risen, we're still maintaining that positive revenue. It's just that the gap is shrinking. So just wanted to jump into that a little bit more. Shifting away from the rec specific highlights, our community spaces stayed very active throughout the year. So as I mentioned, our city facilities support not just city programs, but also community group rentals, private rentals, meetings, celebration, and public events. And so we had 2,865 rental hours that city staff supported, almost 2,000 field use hours, and 41 unique community events held throughout City of Arcata public lands, so outside of specific city facilities. And I will note that unique community events would mean our weekly farmers market is counted as one of those 41. We also had 12,000 total facility use hours. And so that 2,865 number, that close to 3,000 rental hours, those were outside rentals. The balance of that to make up the 12,000 facility use hours were city supported programming within all of our city facilities. Of the 2,865 rental hours, we had 927 unique facility rentals. So you could think about that similar to that unique community events, different renters engaging with different city facilities. And then we recorded 44,369 rental attendees through estimates. Certainly we don't have a clicker and a head count for each participant, but roughly we've served about 44,000 rental attendees through those facility rentals. So that was a lot of numbers and data, but I think it does a really good job of highlighting just how heavily used and well-loved our city public spaces, both indoor and outdoor, are, as well as our different field opportunities. Keeping with this numbers theme, we increased our facility revenue about 67% since 2022. And so that is very much reflected in what we're seeing with those high rental numbers and that high, I'll use the term utilization. The community center specifically generated $92,500, which was more than twice its 2022 revenue. And again, that 2022 year was fledgling out of the COVID-19 pandemic, but that close to doubling is a real substantial increase. The D Street Neighborhood Center, interestingly, hosted fewer gatherings, but larger gatherings. And so we're seeing this shift toward that being just a more heavily utilized space for those larger gatherings, where before we used to see some smaller meetings, some small groups. Now we're really seeing these larger gatherings needing spaces that they can gather in. 76% of facility hours supported city use, as I mentioned. So going back to this 12,000 total facility use hours, 76% of those were for city-sponsored programming or city-run programming. And then on the flip side, 95% of field usage hours were rental hours. So really, the fields are generally used as spaces that outside entities and sports groups come and run their leagues, which I also think underscores the deep level of partnership that the city's Parks, Rec, and Facilities division has with a lot of outside entities, sports leagues, community-based organizations, et cetera, et cetera. We also completed a lot of improvement projects across the city in 2025. So our Parks and Rec Committee chair had noted the Carlson Park skate spot. In addition to that skate spot, we expanded to the best of our ability parking for Carlson Park. We heard a lot of community feedback around needing more parking spaces, and so we were able to change the flow of traffic in a way that we were able to create a few more spaces for park users. We completed the Valley West Dog Park. We replaced the Westwood Manor and Windsong Playground equipment. And as mentioned before, opened the Redwood Lodge exterior restrooms. Looking ahead to 2026, Annie and Mary Trail will be completed, and construction was initiated in 2025. And then we completed design. Again, I'm flipping back and forth between past and present here, but the D Street Linear Park fitness area design was completed in 2025, and the actual park itself was completed in 2026. So again, spoiler alert there. Phew. It's a lot happening. So those are a lot of our open spaces. Looking at facilities, we also completed the Arcata Library ADA improvements. The Arcata Ballpark facade was completed, which also included some ADA access. We replaced the community center roof with a metal standing seam roof, as well as installing rooftop solar and LED retrofits, which I've probably mentioned over 5 times in the last year. We're very excited about that project. And then we also put some planning in motion around a future Valley West Neighborhood Center. We transitioned our Bayside Park farm operations to Central del Pueblo, which has been doing a lot of really cool work out at the Bayside Park farm. We advanced our third call for art for Sunny Bray Public Art, which will be unveiled this fall. And we hired a facilities crew leader. I'll pause here and, I mentioned the importance of our parks and facilities and recreation team. Looking at these facilities projects too, I want to make note of how much overlap there is between that division and the engineering division as well. And so really it takes the village to have these projects come to life. And we have such a strong, dedicated staff team that really works hard to have all of these projects come to bear in just 1 year's time. So I think this is my last slide. Let me just check my notes really quickly before I jump into a couple more numbers. Second to last slide. So I thought this bar graph was helpful. That highlights the recreation program revenue as well as our facilities, rental, and community events program revenue. Again, things have been looking really positive for the city in terms of increasing our revenue year over year, and that revenue reflects higher community use. There's a little bit of increased, CPI fees per our master fee schedule, so it's not like for like, but really the scale that we're increasing our revenue and that community usage is far outpacing those incremental increases you would see with inflation. Again, I don't want to paint the picture that we have extra revenue to come up with ways to spend. Really, the cost of doing business, so to speak, is outpacing that revenue. The cost to maintain our facilities, pay our staff, pay our utilities bills is likely outpacing that bottom line. But we are doing a really good job of holding steady as best we can, and most importantly, continuing to activate all of our public spaces. So with that, in summary, we have expanded our participation and flexible recreation opportunities. Our revenue has remained strong, and we have moved major parks and facility projects into the community use. So with that, I will end the staff update and welcome any questions the council might have. Thank you.
Thank you. It's wonderful work, and what a fun department to be part of. I'll go ahead and start. Any questions or comments from this side?
Oh, just thank you. I always love to hear you present. So thanks, Emily.
Thank you. And I'm the liaison to foam, and so I always get to see all the changes that go on at AMIC and staffing, and it's all been excellent. And thank you very much for this presentation, because you know, that's what we're really known for is our recreation program. One of our things that we're known for, that we have a great recreation program. And so thank you for the presentation and letting us know how great it is.
My pleasure. And one thing just to note for community members listening in is our annual report is included with the council agenda packet, but again, really just wanted to take some verbal airtime to showcase all the good work that the team has done in addition to that written report. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next staff report, is going to be an information-only presentation regarding data centers from our building official, Joe Bishop, and also Mayor White is here. So while he's getting set up, we're going to do a quick shuffle up here, and then we'll be ready in just a second.
Proceed. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. No, happy to be here and happy to see you all. Hello, council, mayor, vice mayor, public, staff. Thank you again for having me here so frequently. It's a pleasure. That's a really tough act to follow. Great job, Emily Benvey. It's wonderful to see all that. I can't say that mine will necessarily be as positive, but it's also meant to be very unbiased. This was a request from staff or from council, and I believe specifically, Stacy, you asked for this information. Is that correct? So thank you for inviting me up here. I am going to do my best to present a very unbiased and unopinionated presentation here, and I'll be available to answer questions. And I believe Merritt may hop in and answer questions as well, and potentially even Tabitha if needed. So we're going to talk about submarine cables, data center types, get some scale visualizations, talk a little bit about power consumption and economic growth. So this is kind of just a snapshot from a website that shows all the cables across the entire globe, specifically the submarine cables. There's other websites for other types of stuff, but this one was really nice. And it really highlights, you can select individual lines that got up there, submarinecablemap.com if anybody wants to look at that. And you can actually select individual lines and see where they run and terminate and get information from them. And as many of you probably know, we have 2 lines that land here in Eureka. And you can see that it's the next closest one is Manchester, which is, I believe, just outside of Mendocino. Am I correct in that? South of Mendocino, thank you. And then you have to go all the way down to like San Luis Obispo to see the next ones in California. And, you know, I'm sure there was a ton of research put into picking where they were going to land, and they ended up landing right out off the coast, and they enter through the old discharge line from the pulp mill, and they come up Samoa, and they go to our little data center. So proximity matters when you're talking about data centers. These submarine cable landing stations are high demand because of the proximity to these points. They offer low latency, international connectivity, direct access to global capacity, and strategic positioning for multi-region services. So facilities with direct or short fiber access to undersea cables can serve international workloads more effectively, reducing latency and improving customer experience. We have a hub potential. We have these 2 cables that land here, and the data centers can act as anchor points for global content delivery networks and interconnect hubs linking overseas facilities to one another. And that competitive edge with the proximity data centers, the further they are from where those points land, the less effective they are. So that's why they picked the location they picked. In my little research, I ran across basically 5 different types of data centers, and I just picked some keywords that are associated with each of the different types. Most people, when they think of data center, if you imagine what a data center is, they're probably imagining an enterprise or maybe even a hyperscale. So the private facilities were a single business, very large scale, very expensive. And under hyperscale, gargantuan was a word that I saw. I was like, yeah. And they are very purpose-built. Colossal was another word I saw there. And it's really about processing and storage. And as you can imagine, that all comes down to AI. One more slide, sorry. This is a little comparison of co-location data centers and AI data centers, which I mentioned are the hyperscale and the enterprise. So a co-location data center serves and servers and other equipment from numerous companies in a single data center. The hardware is often owned by the business renting the space, and the data center staff only house it. And this is very location driven. The proximity to infrastructure and facilities is the high priority there. Then AI data center, again, the typical data center that people imagine. They are designed to support high performance computing, GPUs, those are graphics processing units. That's your, when you want to pull out your phone and get an AI generated image, there's millions and millions of people doing that all the time. That's what GPUs are. I had to look that up. And large scale AI workloads. Extreme utility usage and space requirements is your stereotypical data center. And it's built where the land's available, supported by utilities and government, not necessarily tied to these cable landing stations. So our data center, and this is I've got the link at the bottom there, datacentermap.com USA, and you can look at any data center and it's got information on there. And it says our data center is a co-location data center, meaning it's got multiple tenants within a building that serves those tenants. It serves as a critical terminal for high-speed fiber optic cables. And this is direct quote off their website, by the way. This site connects to a 10,000-mile trans-Pacific fiber optic cable running between the U.S. coast and Singapore, and also serves as the landing stations for Echo and TPU cable systems. If you go to that submarine cable map, you can actually click on those two, the Echo and the TPU, and see right where they go. The data center is also part of the INYO Networks Digital 299 project aimed at enhancing high-speed internet across Northern California. If you've taken a trip cost $2.99 in the last couple of years, all those little stops and those little blue and red and orange tubes they're sticking in the ground, that's what that's all about. So our data center, I am very intimately familiar with our data centers. I did 97% of the inspections for all that. I think one time I was on vacation and Ian had to do a couple, but I'm very familiar. This first phase was it was most recently Nilsson Feed Company. Before that, it was the Do It Best Lumber. And on the left there, I've got a little snapshot of just kind of what the general site plan is there. And to the right is an actual, from our GIS picture of what it looks like. And then I got a little zoom in, just kind of an idea of what's actually in there and some stats. So the total building, that was the existing building, just over 10,000 square feet. And then they built an equipment yard, which was 6,683 square feet. And then within that, I know the text is too small, but up in the upper left portion, that larger open space within the building, that's their actual data hall. And that's just under 6,000 square feet. And I'll go back to that image so you can see to the right in the lower hand corner, that's the equipment yard outside. So phase 2, which was recently completed, building A, as they're calling it, even though, well, the original building is 1296 11th Street. This is 1296 11th Street, Unit A. Our GIS wasn't updated. I had to actually go to Apple Maps to pull this satellite image. So lower right-hand corner, you can see the smaller, newer building that they just finished. And you'll see in that picture, all the equipment's actually up on the roof. They normally put it on the roof. They only did the equipment yard on the side because it was an existing building. So they added a new building of 6,300 square feet, and they added to the exterior equipment yard. They added 3,500 square feet there. And the data hall in the new building is 4,800 square feet. So a little scale, a little context. This, for our lovely little rural community town, this is a pretty big building. And it's like, wow, this is a data center, and what all the, I've got all the phone calls. I've had all the questions about what that means. But for some context, I wanted to show you the largest single building data center in the US is just outside of Reno. It's just under 1 million square feet, single building. Our first data center was just around 10,000 square feet. So kind of wanted to show you what that looks like from the street view. And that's the narrow end there. I want to go back. You can see at the top of this picture, there's the red tank. And so this is the street view. You can kind of see that tank off to the right there. And to really kind of put it in context so you can imagine what it would look like here. That's what it would look like if it was overlaid on downtown. And the lower left-hand corner of that orange square is our data center, just for context. And then I wanted to show you too another large scale. This is a campus, so there's 11 buildings in this. This is owned by Meta, Facebook, right? And 17 million square feet for that lot. And that's what that looks like from the street. Quite a different experience than what we've got. And that's what that square would look like if it was overlaid on the city of Arcata. So just a little context, just to kind of put it in perspective, what we have here. And then a little bit about power usage. The bottom of that image that they're showing that a 1.3 megawatts is your approximate usage for 1,000 homes. They've got Harvard University at 40 megawatts. And then your typical hyperscale data center, like most people imagine, is around 100 megawatts. I want to jump to the top there. This is under construction. This is the Stargate OpenAI data center under construction is planned to be using 5,000 megawatts. And each megawatt is roughly 1,000 homes. So again, just a little bit of perspective. Our data center, both of those facilities combined in phase 1 and phase 2 are using approximately half a megawatt. So a little bit just economic development. There's an interesting article I found here from Brookings, educational article, and I got the website there. If anybody wants it, let me know. Just a couple of quick quotes from it. It is possible to see the first outlines of a more valuable build out of data centers coming into focus on its own in a way that helps region gain benefits that meaningfully support the development of a local tech ecosystem. And there is an urgency to close deals. The urgency, it probably should read, has already driven several announcements in the last year in ways that suggest how data center agreements could, with greater levels of intentionality and more meaningfully benefit local communities' economic development. So our data center is allowed in Arcata, and this is an excerpt from our land use code. Data centers facility used primarily for the storage, management, processing, and transmission of digital data, which houses computers or network equipment, servers, etc. So in the image there, the dark purple is our industrial general area. That was a potential location if a company were to try to put in a data center here. That's probably where they'd end up trying to go. And so what are we doing? We're reviewing strategies implemented by other communities to limit impacts from data centers and supporting proposed legislation regulating data centers. We're considering what, if any, type of facilities may be appropriate for the city and identifying the potential impacts, and potentially implement a moratorium on data centers while the city is considering modifying its land use and zoning. A temporary moratorium on data centers could be initiated under Government Code 65858. It would require 4/5 vote by council and would establish 45-day moratorium on acceptance, processing, or approval of data centers, and it would become effective immediately. Recent examples of other jurisdictions: Humboldt County directed staff very recently, July 14th, City of Oakley, Montebello, Monterey Park, Patterson, Indio, Coachella, Desert Hot Springs, Calipatria, I'm not familiar with that one, El Monte, Baldwin Park, and Brawley. So are any of these facilities appropriate for Arcata? They could improve access for Arcata and Humboldt County to better and cheaper fiber internet. And if an appropriately sized facility could fit in that industrial general zone, there could be a potential for tax revenue from sales and use tax on the equipment and construction. $30 million construction has some significant tax potential. The real and tangible property tax on the equipment and the buildings, and then potentially voter approved utility user tax could be implemented. Industrial impact of data center versus other manufacturing on local and global climate is obviously a consideration as well. So I wanted to get through that quickly. I am available for questions, as is Mara and potentially Tabitha if needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. That
Thanks.
was a pretty extensive presentation. Appreciate it.
Real
We
quickly,
have-
Mayor, if I could just add a couple of
Yes,
things. I
please.
appreciate Joe putting that presentation together. It's funny, the data centers have received a lot of attention lately because they've been a big change in some communities. They can be really large projects. They can be very heavy power consumers. And I know that's some of the concern that the council was thinking about. Could one be located here? Just a couple of things. It was interesting since it came up at the council meeting. We've had inquiries from one particular developer of data centers that has expressed a strong desire to be between the Eureka and Arcata area. In fact, he emailed me at 3:00 today. And so there is pressure in the slide, going back to the slide that Joe presented, proximity matters. Data centers want to be near where those undersea cables come in. And I also believe the one for Manchester comes up and is connected here. And so a lot comes together right here in Arcata. So there will be a demand on the city to see those kind of data centers come in. On the other side, I saw recently that Hoopa Valley Tribe celebrated the opening of their data center, which looks quite small compared to some of the large ones that Joe showed, but it does provide the benefit for that community of providing the ability to connect to the internet and to have e-commerce happen from that area. But I think the biggest question and something that we'll look for council is while we study it is perhaps it's in future agenda items or just some direction or sense from the council is we would like to look at this from a staff perspective and consider whether or not that the council would like to see a moratorium while we study this and consider how we can update our land use and zoning ordinance to take into consideration the potential for data centers.
Thank you. Okay, so I will start, I guess, on the left. Go ahead, please.
I just wanted to could you give us just like an overview if an applicant came and wanted to do something based on size and scale, how does something like this get approved? Because I just, this one happened in phases, and it was before my time that it was originally approved. But I don't even think it went to city council, right? And so, does it go to the planning commission? Does it go just through the building department? What does it look like if it's over X amount of square feet? When does it come to us, et cetera? Just a summary.
And just, you want me to answer that one, Joe? Just real quickly, and we might have to have our community development department come up, but any data center application requires a conditional use permit, even if it's in the industrial general area. So what we would expect is that there'd be a conditional use permit application for that data center and a full project description. And that would be approved at the planning commission level. Yeah, so David affirmed. Yeah. Would you like to come up and add anything? Or no?
He
And
just retired. Thank you.
and assuming it went through and it got to me, then there would be a whole building permit review and all that, and that's where we'd get a lot more information about the details of the project.
And I'm probably omitting, and I'm just reading this, that David shaking the head, is there would be an environmental document that would be required for that too. So the environmental process in addition to the conditional use permit.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Joe, thank you just for kind of going over those types of data centers. I think it's really helpful because we use the same word for everything and people have just kind of a knee-jerk reaction, I think, but to at least get some more information and kind of see what's going on there is pretty important. And just going with that, it's interesting. Never mind. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but I support the idea, I guess, of I think we need to hold up and figure out, what, like you said, what is it that Arcata wants? What is appropriate? What is not appropriate? What does the community not want? Which I think is a lot of these things. And trying to, really drill in and figure that out. And it's interesting you brought up, that this one only draws 0.5 megawatt of power. And it's funny. Yeah, I wear that hat at RCEA a lot because RCEA's load is decreasing. And we talk a lot about how, we want energy efficiency and energy programs. But when you're in the market of selling energy, you need to have more customers buying that energy to be able to make things pencil out. And so it's always, kind of about balancing those questions. And I think that, comes with the same topic. Yeah, there's enticing economic development things, but at what cost are we looking at? And so thank you. This is a great presentation. And if we could maybe either get these slides or that article that you posted, that would be interesting to read. So thank you.
Thank you. That was my question, so I appreciate you bringing that up. I did have a question.
I'll make sure you have access to this PowerPoint.
Okay.
Yes.
So if as a council, we do want to move forward on a moratorium, it's effective immediately, you said, for 45 days?
Yes, establishes a 45-day moratorium on acceptance, processing, or approval of data centers. It would be effective immediately upon adoption. Within 35 days, staff provides progress report. And it may request an extension up to 10 months and 15 days with another vote. And it looks like maybe twice you could do that.
So it sounds like if we are intending that we want to get ahead of this, so it should happen sooner than later.
Did you say that the county already passed something like that?
I think the county directed staff to initiate a moratorium, but I don't believe that that's come before the board yet.
Well, I'm in favor of moving this forward to.
Yeah, thank you. And that helps me better understand, because I remember when we were getting the undersea cable connections, and there's been a lot of work by like Connie Stewart and others to really get the high-speed internet to rural places and have internet be more equitable across our really diverse region. And so I think for that, it is important. It's great that we have that center that is giving high-speed internet to our community at large. So I appreciate that, which to me makes it very different than the other centers we're talking about. I was just wondering, we didn't talk about water use. How much water use does ours use compared to others?
Most of the large hyperscale or enterprise data centers are producing, because they're using so much electricity, they're producing high amounts of heat. So water cooling is the most efficient way to deal with that heat. Our data center, both phase 1 and phase 2, have no water cooling whatsoever. So the only water they're using on site is to flush toilets and wash hands.
Could I ask, so my understanding is that we don't actually know what that number is, that we don't have access to that, or is that not correct? Right, but.
To how much water they're using?
The general public doesn't necessarily.
Don't know if a Freedom of Information Act would be required to produce that information, but I'm sure that it's if somebody wanted that, we probably could get it if it was legal.
It's a small amount, like Joe said, they don't use it for cooling. It wouldn't be a number that's really interesting, but what we could give examples of what water use would be for something like that. If
It's
people
pretty much
want.
a small business using water, you know? Yeah.
You probably have to figure out how many toilets are there and how many people are there.
I
a
know
day.
exactly how many toilets there
Okay.
are. There's 2.
Too. And my understanding is there's not many people in there, so you probably aren't getting the toilet flushed like you would in an apartment building or in some other place where they're flushing.
That is correct. There are very few people in there at a time. There may be times where groups of people show up for inspections and stuff, but I believe if you randomly did an audit, there's probably 2 to 3 people there at any given time.
And I do support us on our next agenda having an item for a moratorium so staff can study. And that's part of the reason I asked for the presentation was because I had inquired on my own and was learning, you know, what it was and what it wasn't. And so I think this is helpful for our community so that we can all be on the same page. And I just, from hearing stories of them popping up in other places, I thought it was something that we should get ahead of. And then Merritt said I jinxed it because we got calls right after that. And that wasn't my intention, but it is just to get ahead so we don't find ourselves in a situation that we don't want to be in.
Yeah, Stacy, I really appreciate you asking for this to be put on the agenda. 'Cause
So one
it's
of the
very
reasons-
informative. Thank you.
So one of the reasons we have the cable landing here stations is because when they looked at the distance between Singapore and here, we were the closest. And then we have access out of here, and their goal was to move it from here across to the United States. And so we're just part of the carrying system, and that's why 299. But then they were looking at the middle mile and Hoopa and how they can get service too. And part of the arrangements were for the landing cable when they came in is that they were going to provide that extra service to us locally within our county and also within Humboldt State or Cal Poly Humboldt. And so I believe that's true information I'm giving you.
Yeah, yes, you are correct. And I was trying to get through this quick, so I did gloss over one statement that, I lost it. But I will say one anecdotal thing that helped me kind of understand this is we kind of look at this as like essentially a giant global internet router. So if your AI, your typical hyperscale data center is this massive 5,000 megawatt user doing all the processing, we're the tiny little router in the corner that's just passing information along. So that's a very good point. So the statement that I believe I skipped over was the center is designed for minimal noise and foot traffic with plans to partner with local agencies and service providers to improve regional broadband access for business and residents. That is absolutely
And that was my understanding when it was happening. You know, I'll stop there. I won't tell you what else I know or what else I was able to do, which was really sort of fascinating to see. Well, I will say it. I thought it was interesting that I was able to go onto the ship. It was a Korean ship, and to be able to see how they actually had that cable in their hole just rolled up. And so the ship here was going to go back and meet the cable in the middle of the ocean. And then I can't even imagine how they did it, but they connect them way down somewhere. And then that was how they were going to bring it over, which finally happened. But when I was out there, they were having severe weather issues. So they couldn't do it at that time, and they had to leave and come back at a later time. But the whole ship and everything on it was fascinating. But I found that that was the beginning of my understanding. And the first cable is Google. And the second cable is who? Do you know?
I don't have the specifics. Like I said, my understanding is they're shared, they're rented by multiple. I don't know who owns the specific cables, but I think actually part of the reason I had that website queued up was I believe that you can actually get that information right here. Owners Google and Meta. So Echo is owned by Google and Meta. And then we'll see if we can click. So that's the Echo line. Let's see if we can get the TPU line.
So when the ship came in, the Google employee, Google, I don't know who they were, but they were Google executives that were present to see the ship and to see what the whole operation was about.
Yeah.
And they were very excited.
The other line, the TPU line, just says owners Google. So it sounds like Google's got their fingers in both pies.
Okay, so thank you for that. More to come.
Thank you
And-
very much. It's a pleasure to be here as always and see all of you together. It's a wonderful thing. Thank you.
And also thank you to Vice Mayor Atkins-Stelzer for being proactive in getting this to us today. Thank you. All right, so the city council values your comments. The public comment period allows people to address the council on matters not on the agenda. This early section of public comment is limited to 15 minutes, and speakers are limited to 2 minutes each. If you prefer to have a full 3 minutes of time for your public comment, this item is continued at the end of the meeting under item 12, where speakers are granted 3 minutes. Please know, pursuant to the Brown Act, the council cannot discuss or take action on items not listed on the agenda. The council may respond to statements, and there will be also a time to provide public comment specific to each item when that item is being reviewed by the council. Make your way up to the podium now if you would like to comment.
Hi, everyone. Am I allowed to send out visuals or? This one. My name is Johnny Mayulo. I moved here to go to graduate school in 2007, and I'm proud to now call Arcata home for me, my wife, my 3 children. Something has consistently occurred to me when I return here, and it's going to sound kind of ridiculous, honestly, given where we live, but it seems like there aren't quite enough trees in town. I know we have a beautiful forest at the edge of town, but walking around Arcata, and I really enjoy walking, I can't help but notice there's very little shade. And I know that, again, this is going to sound ridiculous because you're going to say, well, we're on the coast. It's cloudy. We don't need shade. In fact, I've heard these arguments so often when I'm complaining about this, I'm starting to think it's a bit of a cop-out because people say, well, trees are problematic here, right? When we have trees, we have mold, we have moss, we have these evils that we don't want in town. And yet I can't help but to think that going north, for example, up to Olympia, Washington, that gets more rain than we do, Coos Bay even, and I have pictures of this, they have larger canopies than we do. And I think as we find the weather changing, you know, we're having more sunny days, that we're going to see the dearth of trees in town is something of a problematic thing. So I'm giving this information to the council. I sent a request for meetings to everybody, so I just wanted to come and introduce myself and introduce this idea. I would love to plant the trees as a volunteer. I'd be happy to do it. I know a lot of organizations do this for free as well. Like there's grant programs and things of that nature, NGOs. So if you want to plant trees, I'm your man. And my yard is not enough. You come and see, I got a lot there, but you know, I want to do it citywide. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next, please.
I have some papers. My name is Daniel Pierce. I used to come here a lot. I was crushed in an earth mover at the landfill. I've seen the white light. That's how my movie starts. Arcata's in a movie I'm writing. And actually, I'm writing 2 movies. This one here is Amarnath. Amarnath is on the full moon this month. Amarnath is the marriage between Lord Shiva and Parvati. When I was crushed, I'm the last one. You're in the movie because of the Arcata Plaza. The Arcata Plaza had a bench and a statue. I am more or less the reason the statue is gone. But the reason I'm here is for this. It's called the Barkley Springs Shear Zone. It's under Lake Phillsbury, up of the Eel River. It's a shear zone, meaning that it goes like this. This study was done in 1984, 2 years after the big earthquake here, where we had 3 of them. And if it goes, every redwood tree on the Eel River will go with it. Every California redwood park will vanish. If it happens during the winter at high tide, forget about Ferndale and forget about Fortuna. They will be washed away in a flood, in a log jam. Now, PG&E has known about this since 1984, and they have done nothing. They have sold the lake. They have put us through all kinds of stuff. What do they know about the power plant, the nuclear power plant? If they're lying about this, then what else are they lying about? Now, I'm asking you, can you find this report? I can find the new reports, but this one here, they dug in the ground and they found the trench and they've recorded the earthquakes. The video you want to watch is called The Barkley Springs Fault Has a Secret Problem, and the scientists are nervous, and here's why. Because the whole lower half is moving. It's on serpentine.
Thank you for
the
your
top part
comment.
is not moving.
Thank you again. Do we have any other in-person commenters? Otherwise, we will go and see if there's anyone online.
No, we do not have anybody online.
Okay. So that brings us then to the consent. Oh, we do have somebody. Great. Come on up.
Good evening. I'm Oz of Arcata. Over a half century, I've involved myself in city affairs and being a community organizer. And tonight, after 3 years absence, I'm back in town, and I'm like walking down memory lane. It's a good night. The only other person in the room I think has some institutional memory other than I do is Councilman Stillman. And just a note there, I look back over the years and remember a time when Arcata wasn't doing so well financially. Some of our old Victorian homes were at risk of being parted out and made into apartments, and slumlords taking over and destroying the heritage and culture of our city. Thank you for your efforts in making history stay alive in Arcata with our architecture. Much appreciated. As to the new kids on the block, I appreciate your public service, and I've had my staff look up and go through the agenda items. And frankly, between now and the next election, you all have some work to do. For 50 years, I've talked about things that we consider nuisances in Arcata, and one of them was not a nuisance at all. It was a policy, a lack of affordable housing for unhoused persons. One thing I don't want to hear come from a council is the word homeless. I was born home. I cannot be homeless. I can be unhoused, but that's only through public policy and affordable living conditions. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Do we have anyone online?
No, we do not.
Okay. So then if no one else, we will be going to the consent calendar. All matters on the consent calendar are considered to be routine by the City Council and are enacted in one motion. There is no separate discussion of any of these items. If discussion is required, that item is removed from the consent calendar and considered separately. A, approval to waive reading of the text and consent to read by title only for any ordinance on this agenda. B, approve the minutes of the City Council special meeting of August 5th, 2026. C, approve the minutes of the City Council meeting of August 5th, 2026. D, bi-weekly report on disbursements. E, make a continued finding that the emergency procurement to repair failed culverts at 4700 West End Road is necessary, and authorize the city manager to execute all applicable documents. F, ordinance number 1593, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Arcata amending Chapter 5, Title 5 of the Arcata Municipal Code to update the definition of a nuisance, change the nuisance abatement hearing officer to the city manager, and allow for recovery of attorney fees for a nuisance abatement. G, adopt resolution number 267-11, approving the award of state coastal conservancy grant funds for the Jolly Giant Creek and Butcher Slough Coastal Resilience and Restoration Planning Project. Authorize the city manager to execute all applicable documents. H, approve a sponsorship in the amount equivalent to $581 for the special event application, barricade usage, and traffic control plan fees for the 40th annual I-Block Party on September 7th, 2026. I, approve a sponsorship at the silver level for the Redwood Region Economic Summit on October 1st and 2nd, 2026, in the amount equivalent to $1,500. And J, adopt resolution number 267-08, amending the class and pay resolution for employees represented by the operating engineer local 3 to correct a salary error to salary grade G, as in Gary, 213. So, would any council member or staff like to remove an item from the consent calendar? Do we have any members of the public waiting to comment on any of the consent calendar items? If so, please line up at the podium now or raise your hand on Zoom for public comment on the consent calendar. Go ahead, please.
Hello, my name is Joanne McGarry, and I just hope the biweekly report on disbursements includes the previous disbursements as well. I didn't actually look this time around, but just want to double check that. I also wish that somebody would have taken off the nuisance thing, but that's all right. And I appreciate you're helping the I-Block Party with a fee waiver, more or less. So I am looking forward to that event happening in a new iteration with Centro de Pueblo. And that's really nice that you're offering a waiver on that. And I guess that's all I really wanted to say, and proceed.
Thank you for your comment. Do we have anyone else? Okay, how about on virtual online?
No, we do not have anyone.
All right, so may I have a motion to adopt the consent calendar?
I move to adopt the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Schaefer, a second from Councilmember Stillman. If there's no other discussion on this, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I say aye, motion passes. We have no old business today, so that will bring us to new business. Appoint one new member to the Energy Committee for a term expiring September 30th, 2027, and appoint one new member to the Wetlands Creeks Committee for a term expiring March 31st, 2018. So earlier this evening, we interviewed one candidate for one vacancy on the Energy Committee and 3 candidates for a vacancy on the Wetlands and Creeks Committee. First, do we have any questions or comments from the council? Okay. Do we have any members of the public waiting to comment on this item? Do we have anyone on Zoom that would like to comment on this item?
No, we do not.
Okay. So can I have a motion to appoint?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to appoint one new member to the Wetlands and Creek Committee for a term expiring March 31st, 2028, and I would like to appoint Moonlight McCalcober.
I would love to second that.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 And I
Aye.
say aye, so motion passes. And that's McCumber. Moonlight McCumber. Okay, great. All right, so that would be next then, if anybody would like to make a motion to appoint one member to the Energy Committee with a term ending September 30th, 2027. Okay, so then we will continue to take applications for that committee. I'd like to thank everyone for their time, for applying for these very important committees and commissions, and keep the interest going. All right, so that brings us to B, public hearing to adopt project action and introduce ordinance numbers 1591 and 1590 for the Whaley House proposed rehabilitation and lot split at 1395 H Street in Arcata. I will now open the public hearing. Can we have a staff report from Director? Oh, we are going to be having it from, will it be?
Mayor White, I just wanted to check in real quick with
Sure.
the ordinances that are within the staff report, ordinance numbers 1591 and 1590. There are exhibits that need to be included in the agenda packet, and staff discovered that some of these exhibits are missing. So we asked the council to open the public hearing and continue it to a date certain, and I'm going to hand the microphone over to
Yeah, and I think we would like to open the hearing, and I think we have the applicant here, so I will hand it to Dilo for the staff reports. But as our city clerk said, we're not looking to take action, but to continue
Okay,
this item.
that makes sense. Perfect. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, and I would like to apologize to the applicants. We have an applicant here in the council chambers as well as one online. So I'm just going to provide a brief report. We did present this to the Planning Commission at their May 12th regular meeting. I believe the packet information directed the council to review that information. So this is a curtailed presentation, but if you have any questions that I don't cover, please let me know. Okay, so this project involves a local historic resource, the Whaley House in Northtown Arcata. The site is zoned residential low density with a historic landmark overlay combining zone. And the project applicant team includes a brother and sister, as well as Nick Lucchese, who is here with us this evening. So just a little site context. This is pretty close to Wildberries Marketplace. It's a corner lot at the intersection of H and 14th here in Arcata. So the request is essentially a relatively straightforward one, but there are a few regulatory pieces that are triggering an additional layer of process, multiple layers of process for the applicant. In order to subdivide this lot, they would need to meet a 12,000 square foot parcel minimum. They're coming right under that at about 11,500 square feet. So essentially their request is to subdivide this parcel into two with two resulting lot sizes that are slightly under our typical minimum size, and then using the income from the sale of the resultant lot to fund rehabilitation of the historic resource. So this is a figure of the tentative map, and you'll see there may have been some questions from the council about this, that there is a structure in the rear that will be bisected by this new resultant line. We have worked that out with the applicants and the building official, and a firewall will be installed to separate that, as well as a shared maintenance agreement with that project. So this is a street view image. You can see it's 100 feet of frontage. It definitely looks like it could be subdividable, and they are very, very close. And to give you just an overview of the regulatory process that triggers the review by the council, because this is a subdivision, it is not eligible under current regulations to be processed with any other process apart from a planned development permit and resulting planned development overlay zone, which does trigger additional process and cost for the applicant. In addition, the original historic landmark overlay narrative for this site explicitly referenced the side yard as being significant to the character of this site and its setting. So both of those things are being brought forward for your review. So the first ordinance, Ordinance 1590, will modify the existing landmark overlay to ensure that it only covers the resultant parcel 1 that actually houses the resource, and it will not continue to encumber or provide additional regulation of the resultant parcel 2. And the second ordinance will create a new plan development overlay, which is required by the code as currently written, which will continue to provide regulation that will affect both resultant parcels. So as I mentioned, this is a pretty unusual ordinance in that it explicitly references the ample side yard as being important to the setting and context of this structure. We did run this through the Historic Landmark Commission or Historic Landmark Committee, and they agreed with staff that this does seem to be pretty unique and also somewhat of a regulatory overreach, particularly because the structure was actually moved to this site in the early 1900s and it wasn't even originally located here. So they were very supportive of the project on a whole, and we're excited to see something that would allow for further investment in the resource, even if it meant modifying this landmark overlay. And just big picture, generally speaking, both the Historic Landmarks Committee and the Planning Commission were very excited about this project, very supportive. And they also encourage staff to look at ways to make this process less cumbersome for future applicants as well. Generally, this is a very exciting and relatively straightforward project. It's an infill location in a high resource neighborhood. It's going to further the continued preservation and rehabilitation of one of our only settlement era structures in town, which is very exciting and something that staff wants to be part of finding solutions for. So we would like to encourage you to support this project as well. And finally, just wanted to flag for the council that because we will be updating our land use code to make it more consistent with the General Plan 2045, we also have the opportunity right around the corner to reevaluate these standards and make it easier for applicants next time. If we make minimum parcel sizes smaller than 6,000 square feet, and if we modified our historic landmark overlay process and plan development process to make them either be triggered less often or not at all, this applicant would not be before you tonight. So that's something to consider and something that we're actively exploring. So our recommendation tonight, given that there was a snafu in the ordinances, is to open the public hearing, take comment from the applicant, and then to continue it to the September 16th hearing, date certain. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Dilo. So could you tell me that date one more time? September
16th.
16th, okay.
Yes, thank you.
And so we do have an opportunity then to hear from the applicant?
The applicant is present.
Yes.
Yeah, I do have a hand raised online.
Yeah, I believe one of the applicants in the team is attending virtually, and I believe they would like to be the first to speak.
So we'll take questions and comments, I guess, unless the council wants to go first. We have somebody waiting online, and we also have the applicant present.
And then Mayor White, just to confirm, just for the record, you've opened the public hearing?
I did open the public hearing.
Okay, thank you. Ali, please go ahead. I'm unmuting you now.
Hello, this is Sean.
Is there a chance that you're joined by multiple devices? It sounds like there's an echo in the microphone.
No, there's not. We're only on one device.
Do you hear me?
We can hear you, but there's just an echo that makes it hard to hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that. It sounds like I'm in an echo chamber. I can hear that myself.
I do see that there's two people joined with the name Ali on here. Is it?
This is Sean Thompson. Allie is my wife.
Mm-hmm.
Is that any better? It kind of gives me a godlike sound. Should I proceed, or is this annoying?
They'd like you to proceed, please.
So I just want to say thank you guys for helping with this project. I bought this house in partnership with my parents in 78, 79, and restored it. It was in really bad shape then, horrible shape, but we restored it. I lived there through junior college, and then I sold my half of the house to my parents when I went away to college. When my father passed, my mother moved into the house and lived there for many years. And when she passed, I inherited the house back. And I've always been fond of this house. I loved it. And I've been sad to see it in kind of disrepair over the years. I always thought I was going to fix it up, and seasons have come and gone. My sister, Lisa Finnegan, who lives there, told me that it needs some foundation work last year. And I looked into doing some foundation work and found out the price of foundation work and needs paint job and a lot of stuff that needs to be. I've always wanted this house to be a showcase and a jewel. And she introduced me to Nick Lucchese, who I've grown up in Arcata, I've known for years as well, and to do some of the work. And he expressed interest. He's always said he's always loved his house, and asked about the lot. And we came to agreement that I would do a lot split. It would use the money from the purchase of the lot to do all the upgrades to this house that I wanted to do for years. My father is the one that wrote the paragraph to get the historical significance, and he's the one that wrote about the lot next door. So it wasn't that he's the one that got that designated. The lot next door has always been a sore spot for me, because it's been like people have tried to do gardens, so I've always had to constantly make it better. The fences are constantly getting kicked over by people walking up and down the street. And when Nick said he was interested in building a house for himself there, I thought it was a win for everybody. I could get my portion of the house restored beautifully. He could get a place that he said he wanted a house in town. And it should be a showpiece for Arcata. So I really hope this process goes forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ali. Okay, so I just want to clarify, do I need to close the public hearing? No, because we're going to be continuing it. Okay, so then, yeah, I wasn't finished, but yes. So we do have another speaker. Please make your way up to the podium, please.
Council members, I'm Nick Lucchese, longtime Arcata business person. And the Thompsons came to me about doing the work on the house, and they were going to sell the lot. And then my wife and I decided we wanted the lot. So that's how this came about. And we don't see a downside here. We're going to build the house. The Arcata is going to get 1 or 2 new homes built in it in a nice spot. And the Whaley house is actually, if you're driving into town from the north, it's what you see. It's on your way into town. It's what you see the most on your way by when you travel past 14th Street and stuff. So there's a number of small things we're going to do to the house, but the big picture is we're going to scrape and paint the whole thing so it's renewed, and we're going to replace on the west end of the building. There was an addition, or it looked like somebody clapped on the west side of the building onto it. It's got different siding. Windows have been pieced in. The siding wasn't done very well. Just because it was done a long time ago doesn't mean it was good work. So we're taking all that siding off and replacing it in kind with the same kind of siding, so it'll be dressed up. And then we're going underneath. There's 5 old beams. Redwood loses its tannins, and it becomes subject to termites after a number of decades. So we're taking 5 old beams out, putting new concrete pads, piers, posts, bracing, and new beams underneath it, which will save the building for a long period of time and stuff. So that's kind of the big picture view of it. There's a bunch of little things. There's a wood flue on the north side that used to have a gas pipe in it. We're taking that off and patching it up, basically making the outside look good. We don't have a full budget yet, but we're for sure going to do those 3 things. So that's the plan. And if you have any questions for me, let me know. I understand we're going to be continued on into September, and I understand why.
Thank you so much. So I will start on this side if you have any questions, Alex.
I don't have any questions, but when you have a flue that's had wood in it, been used for wood, and then you switch it to gas, then the bricks are not any good anymore. It always has to be lined. But I think this house is very interesting because if you look at the windows, we don't actually have another house in Arcata that has the full length windows, which act as doors. You can actually open those. It's a very French kind of a look. You would find that in large houses, whether it's, well, they have them in Arizona in historic houses, but you can notice that. And so then you come out onto the roof, I would say porch, not deck, but porch. And they also have the long windows downstairs in the first floor. And I think it's a very unique house. And when the Thompsons had it, I recommended that they actually consider putting it on the National Register of Historic Places. So they did, because I thought for sure it needed to be saved. And I think it's an excellent example of architecture and it's something that we should carry on. And houses in Arcata, we were known as the White City because when you drive, and you can still see this, when you drive from Eureka and you look at Arcata, it looks all the houses look very, very white. And at this era, you couldn't afford colored paint because it was so expensive. So you would paint your house white, and then you would have money, you would put it on your front door and on your window sashes. And so you'll see that if you look around, you'll see window sashes will be black or dark green, and your front doors would be painted either black or dark green. And that was historically acceptable. So I would say that it's really good to have this house, and I think that Lucchese's will be great neighbors to the Thompsons' home. And I really support this kind of an effort, and I'm thankful that the Historic Landmarks Committee and also the Planning Commission can see the necessity and looking at that lot and being able to make it smaller, or approving it as it is smaller. Thank you.
Yeah, I just to echo that, I do appreciate the efforts of our committees and of staff to work with the applicants and be practical in this matter. So thank you. And I also apologize for you all having to come to an extra meeting, but thank you for being here this evening.
Yep. Thanks, committees and planning commission. And it's exciting to hear about the updates you guys are planning to do. Gosh, it's probably been at least 15 years, but I had quite a number of friends that cycled through living in that kind of slapdash little unit in the back part of the house. So I've been in there, and yeah, it's interesting. And you know, it's a beautiful space though, and has a lot of potential. So looking forward to see what you guys do with it.
Yeah, I'll just echo my fellow council members. If the Planning Commission and the Historic Landmarks Committee both give their blessings, and I think that it's a really great example of recognizing overreach and being really amenable to correcting it and make it easier for moving forward for other people to do things. So thank you.
And I want to thank Alex of always giving us extra historical context. I learn so much all the time. And again, I do echo the sentiments of apologies that you do have to come back, but we'll be here waiting for you. So thank you. Continue. We'll not close it because we will need
the council to make a motion to continue the public hearing to the September 16th, 2026 City Council regular meeting at 6 p.m. in the council chamber.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay. So we have a motion from Councilmember Schaefer, a second from Councilmember Stillman. All those in favor?
Aye.
I mean, I know we opened the public hearing, but was it clear that the public was able to comment? I don't know. I don't think we ever asked for actual public comment.
I thought we did. Not really. Okay, well, comment for the public. Step on up here. Welcome, Joanne.
My name's Joanne McGarry. I totally appreciate, I was at the Historic Landmark Committee when this was being discussed. Historical buildings like this in a small town in Arcata, with this being particularly an example of settler housing, I think it's really important that we preserve it for history for a lot of reasons, and for livability and infill. There's a lot of reasons why doing what we're doing is a good thing. The man was just speaking earlier about trees, and there's a lot of trees in that lot next door, and I don't know what the plans are for landscaping and preservation of some of those. Some of them could be, regrown or whatever, or different trees planted in a different place. But it just stood out to me after hearing the person speak about needing trees in our downtown area. But yeah, I appreciate all that has been said about exceptions and making things easier in the past. But I really do think it's really nice that we're kind of talking about the details about some of this as we move forward to do more infill and create more housing, and also preserve the history, for better or worse, of Arcata.
Thank you for your comment. Do we have anyone else in person who would like to comment on this item? If not, we will move to Zoom.
No, we do not have any other hands raised.
Okay, so unless there's any other comments from council, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I say aye, so motion passes. We will see you September 16th. Okay, so that brings us to item C. Approve the plans and award a contract for the 2026 annual pavement maintenance project to the RAO Construction Company Incorporated in the amount of $2,564,942, adopt a CEQA categorical exemption, and authorize the city manager to execute applicable documents. Can we have a staff report from City Engineer Netrick Kocher?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council member of the public, and city staff. Sorry, we were earlier very eager to present this, so we came early, so sorry for that. The item in front of you is a bid award for our annual paving project. Normally, this item would be under consent calendar, but the dollar amount was in the range of $2 million, so we thought it would be good to give a quick presentation so everybody knows where the project is. So with me, I have our Assistant City Engineer, David Case, who will be going over just project overview, where we are paving and how we are paving, and then at the end, we'll take some questions, if you have any, and then we'll answer those. Thank you. With that, David.
All right. Before getting into it, I was going to take a few seconds to just mention a couple months ago, I gave a presentation about a lot of the work that we do in-house with our own staff. And so you were able to see a copy of the actual plan set in your packet. But this is another project where we did the design and the plans entirely in-house, and also we're going to do a lot of the construction management in-house. So Ryan Hurley, he's one of our newest engineering techs. I think he's been with us for about a year and a half. He did this set of plans almost entirely on his own. So it was a good project for him. And the same thing with this presentation, actually. He presented for the TSC and had hoped to present tonight as well, but he wasn't able to make it, so I'll be presenting for him. But anyhow, I just wanted to recognize his efforts and just let council know that this is another one of the projects that we've done in-house, so it's a good one. So moving on, I'm just going to go over just briefly basically the locations of the different paving that we're doing and a couple basic components. And then if you have any specific questions, you can just interject as I'm speaking, or we can wait till the end, whatever you prefer. But this is kind of the overall, okay, here's my pointer. This is the overall city limits. We're going to start up here at the top on Boyd Road, and I'll zoom in and give a little bit more details in the next few slides, but we'll do some work up here on Boyd Road, LK Wood, which is actually an additive alternative because we weren't sure if we were going to have enough money to do that one. And then I lost my, okay, and then on EYE Street and Todd Court, Ross Street, and then over here a little bit on Fickle Hill, and then Shirley Boulevard. So as you can see, this is our annual paving project, so it's just various locations throughout the city. So you can see it's pretty well distributed from north to south. So for Boyd Road, we're going to be paving the portion between Gentoli to the city limits. And again, I'll go a little bit more into detail on the next few slides. But Ross Street, I just want to give the actual limits here. Ross Street from Grant to Sunset, and then EYE and Todd Court, basically from J Street to the end right there at the new Cal Poly housing. And then LK Wood Boulevard, again, I kind of made this one yellow because it was an additive alternative, which, as you would see in the packet, that we are requesting that you award that as well. But LK Wood from Sunset to St. Louis, Fickle Hill Road from Bayside to Park, and Shirley Boulevard from Patrick Court, which is up here, all the way down to Beverly. And so I kind of grouped some of these together based on the type of work that we're doing. For LK Wood, Fickle Hill, and Shirley Boulevard, the G&I here stands for grind and inlay. So basically, there's sections of the pavement that are damaged worse than others. We're going to be grinding down 3 inches essentially and putting back 3 inches. And then we'll do an overlay over the entire street. And then there's going to be some sidewalk repairs and a few miscellaneous curb ramp works, curb ramp components as well. But most of these are primarily paving streets or paving projects. Paving streets as part of our paving project. And so Boyd Road, we're going to be doing just like I mentioned before, between Gentoli and the city limit. And so this is another one where it has a few spots we're going to be doing some grind and inlay or spot repairs, and then we'll do an overlay. And then I just added one note on this is we're going to add buffered bike lanes. So very similar to what we did, I think 2 years ago over on West End Road. Same width and everything. One other note here to mention is right there near the northern extents where Eureka Ready Mix is. There's a big gravel entrance from all the trucks coming in and out, and it's always bringing gravel on the road. So part of this project is actually to pave that entrance and that driveway, of course, within the city right of way, and actually create a little bit of a kind of like a bioretention or a swale, somewhere for the water to go, and just to keep some of that gravel from migrating back out into the road. All right, and along Ross Street, between Grant and Sunset, same thing. This is actually going to be a full grind and inlay. So the full extent of the road, we're going to grind down 3 inches and put 3 inches back. And there'll be some curb ramps and some sidewalk improvements there as well. And then the same thing.
So you said it's okay to interrupt you?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Or someone said that, I heard that. So there were some considerations on Ross Street with the citizens as far as turning lanes and the speed limit and so forth. Are those going to be addressed?
Well, so Nature could probably speak to that more. The quick answer is yes. And one of the concerns or one of the requests in the past has been a speed hump or a speed table, which we are going to be putting a speed hump along the midpoint of that street roughly. So yeah.
Because it goes to the elementary school and there's some confusion with the different places about how to make it better. Thank you.
Yes, I feel like this will make it better. All right, and then for EYE Street and Todd Court, this is another one where it's essentially just a full grind and inlay. So again, taking it down 3 inches and putting 3 inches back. And there's a sidewalk infill here, which is a section along, well, this isn't a great example, right along here, yeah, where there's no sidewalk, but there's sidewalk or a connection on the other side. So we'll be adding new sidewalk there as well, along with some curb ramps. And so essentially this will provide just a better, full connection route from the Annie Mary Trail all the way to Sunset. I mean, there's already, well, through these streets. Of course, there's going to be one through the Annie Mary itself, but this is another component. And then just maybe one of the last comments, just to recognize that this is largely funded with Measure G funds. And then any questions?
Thank you, David. So how about I start on the right over here if we have any questions from council, otherwise move on through.
No, thank you so much for that presentation.
I just had one question. And I realize the weather plays a large role in why we do all the construction when we're doing it, but how will this coincide with the current construction that's going on?
Yeah, that's a good question. There are, when you say current construction, I'm assuming you're talking about the waterline project.
I mean, we have the water line project and the PG&E. There's a few things going on. There's a lot.
Yeah. I would say specifically for the water line, there's two streets that essentially overlap. with this project. Ross Street, which is the water line components, have already been done and installed. So the paving, of course, will happen afterwards and clean a lot of that up. And then Shirley Boulevard. So that's the next step in our water line project. So that we expect that work will be completed before we start paving there. So there will be some overlap, but the intent is to time it to where it works out well and we end up with a nice, clean, finished road.
I appreciate that. And to be clear, I have not received any complaints. I just know, when I'm exercising patience, that probably others are too. And I have, had to cross through some of those sites, and the workers were, I think it's from McCullough, were very accommodating and helpful, but did indicate that they do receive a little bit of, of concerns or aggravation from citizens. So yeah, it's all good stuff. It's good progress that we're making, and we'll just have to continue to ask our folks to be appreciative of the work we're doing and exercise patience.
Sure. Nature just wanted me to add that we're roughly 80% complete with the water line project, and we're essentially going to be done with the downtown work here any day, or essentially. I think they finished paving up a lot this morning, so we're pretty much done around here.
All right. Thank you.
I just want to mention, thank you for mentioning Measure G, which was 20 years, about 20 years old now, and what a difference it's actually made in Arcata, and how many projects we've been able to do over the years with Measure G. And so I thank you very much for mentioning that, because I think that was a really important measure that we had, and what a difference it's made. And I can remember on K Street, there used to be a sign there that said, "This project is brought to you by Measure G, federal dollars." There were federal dollars, and there was one other thing. There was a large sign. And I think whenever we have a project that combines various funding sources, we might want to mention that, or be able to have a sign that would do that out of our sign shop. Thank you.
I think it's a great idea. We've done that for some of our grant projects. Some of those requirements are already built into the specs or the grant funding themselves. But I think we could do a better job doing it ourselves as well, even when it's not necessarily required. Because I think it's good information for the public.
Well, I think people appreciate it. Then they can see where their sales tax for like Measure G is gone, and they realize. And I think when they first did that project on K Street, that was part of wanting. It was new. Measure G was new at that time, and they wanted to be able to show that it's going to how beneficial it would be. And I think it's really important for us to let our citizens know what our measures are doing for us in our community. So thank you.
So I know things have been chaotic with all the projects, but I'm really excited to hear that we're getting this work done. The bike lane, Giantoli, I Street, the sidewalk. I used to have a friend that lived out there, and it was always an ankle twister for me trying to navigate through the overgrown grass and stuff, and try to stay out of the street. I'm wondering if Netra might be able to maybe speak to some of the concerns over on Ross. I know that we're going to be installing a speed bump. I think some of the concerns were where it changes, like the single two-way. Perhaps you could enlighten just a little bit more on that for me.
Yeah, thank you. Over the years, we have heard a lot of concerns on Ross Street regarding speed. Mainly speeding was the biggest issue, and other items were like improper signage. But over the years, we have made some modifications, definitely. And we met with I would say not all the owners, but few of the owners who represented the area 2 weeks ago. And I believe after the meeting, we felt like we have heard them, and we have made those improvements, what they have suggested in the plan. So they were content with our proposed plans right now. So there are still some improvements could be done through signage. That will not happen as a part of this project, but that could be done in future.
Thank you for addressing that, and thank you very much for meeting with the citizen or the residents that live there. And also you answered my question about the signage. So wonderful. And thank you again for all of these wonderful projects that are in the making.
Thank you.
Okay, so if we have any members of the public that would like to comment on this, make your way up to the podium.
Gary, and I appreciate, David, you're making the presentation that Ryan put together, and you're talking about Ryan helping design this, because I've met him and I'm very impressed. And I'm impressed that we're using in-house talent to do these things, which is, how it probably really should go. So I appreciate all that. I just do hope, with the Super El Nino, that we're really thinking about water movement on the streets and, considering all that in addition to just the regular wear and tear. And I just want to remind you, I just hope that the quality of the paving is going to be better than what existed on 8th Street between I and H, when there apparently were some flaws in the project that had to be repaved by staff on an emergency basis. And so I just, quality work and quality work in-house is great to see.
Thank you for your comment. If we don't have anyone else in person, then let's go to see if there's anyone online today.
No, we do not have anyone online.
Okay, so any final comments from council?
No, I will make a motion to approve the project plans and award a construction contract for 2026 annual pavement maintenance project to RAO Construction Company Incorporated in the amount of $2,564,942, to also adopt a California Environmental Quality Act categorical exemption for the project pursuant to the CEQA guidelines, section 15301C, and authorize the city manager to execute all applicable documents.
Second it.
Okay, so we have a motion from Vice Mayor Atkins-Salzar and a second from Councilmember Stillman. All those in favor?
Aye.
I say aye, so motion passes. I would like to see if we could take a short break, and then we'll come right back, maybe, 3 minutes, 5 minutes? Let's do 5. We'll see you shortly. All right. Welcome back. And thank you for accommodating that short break for us. We are now on item D, consider adopting resolution number 267-12, revising the budget for the juvenile diversion counselor position funding. May we have a staff report from the Assistant City Manager and our Finance Director, Tabitha Miller, please.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council. So this will be a very short item. Essentially, when we went into the budget season in the early and late spring, we were trying to balance the budget deficit in our general fund. And so we were looking at alternative sources to fund many things, including our diversion counselor. We looked at, we had applied for Measure Z funding for the 26-27 year. We looked at opioid funds, which is still a possibility, but I'll talk about that in a second, and other grants. Long story short, we didn't get any of those in time, but out of the blue on July 7th, we did get 3 years of funding from the county, thanks to Mike Wilson's advocacy for not this year, but for 27, 28, 28, 29, and 29, 30. So we have funding for our juvenile diversion counselor for the next 3 years. Because one of the requirements of that is that they serve outside city limits and also into the county, we didn't feel like trying to pursue the opioid funds for 1 year would be appropriate because we need all of those resources with the original program. So what we're asking for you to do is provide 1 year's funding for a position that just started as of August 3rd. It's at a cost of $115,500, and that's what this budget modification is. Those opioid funds will stay in the opioid trust fund and will be available for other uses going forward that qualify. And I'm happy to answer any additional questions.
Thank you. Okay, so who would like to, if any questions?
I know this has been a really important thing for our council to have this position. Is the funding going to come out of reserves or?
It will come out of reserves. So it'll be general fund. And because we are projecting a deficit, it's likely going to be something that will come out of fund balance.
Okay. Okay. And thank you, Supervisor Wilson. I was at that meeting and I cheered heartily for that. So, cheers.
Well, I'm really thankful that Mike Wilson, our supervisor for our area, was able to move forward on this and make sure this could happen for us. It's really a valuable position, and we've had some kind of a position of this nature since the 1970s, and I think it's made a big difference for our youth when they've gotten into trouble to have someone be counseling them and helping them on the way, and they become good citizens, because I've seen them become good citizens as they grew up. And I think that it's valuable, and I'm glad we were able to get some funding, even though we don't have it for this year, but we will have it in the future. So thank you for figuring out how to fund that position this year. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said. And even though we are operating in a bit of a deficit, I think this is a worthy cause for going just a little bit and deeper in that. We're very financially responsible. And so we can do things like this. So I appreciate that. And I think that anything and more that we can do for the youth of our community is a priority for myself, and I think for council and others. I'm all about prevention and being proactive rather than the cleanup later on when we don't, nurture and help the young ones in our community. So thank you.
Yes, and I concur. While we may have a somewhat newer juvenile hall, I'm hoping that we don't have to use that. I like the idea of being proactive and preventative, restorative, and not punitive. I know that our juvenile diversion counselors in the past have spent a significant amount of time at Arcata High School, at our charter schools. It is an exceptionally necessary position. I am happy to fund that through our general fund, and I'm thrilled to hear that we will have 3 years. Thank you to our supervisor, Wilson, for doing that for us. And thank you for that presentation as well. So that said, if there's no final or other comments, do we have a motion from council? Oh yeah, public comment. Step on up there. So sorry. Goodness gracious.
Hi, my name is Joanne McGarry. I was also at that meeting where Supervisor Wilson helped to obtain that funding. And I just think, again, I reiterate what you all said, but I just am speaking from the public podium that yes, proactive, preventive, and restorative and all that is most important as we move into our future for the young people who are going to have so many challenges already. And so this is a good thing to spend money on.
Thank you for your comment. So I don't see anyone else in public. Do we have anyone online?
No, we do not.
Okay. Now, do we have any final comments from council? And if not, do we have a motion?
So I would move to, for adoption of resolution number 267-05, authorizing submission of program income only applicable fund. I'm reading the wrong thing. Oh, I'm sorry. It should be adopting resolution number 267-12, revising the budget for juvenile diversion counselor position funding.
I'll second.
Sorry,
Okay, thank you.
checked
We
it off.
have a motion from Councilmember Stillman and a second from Councilmember Schaefer. Matthews, I apologize. It's getting late apparently for me. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I say aye, so
Thank you.
passes. Okay. All right. Next, consider adoption of resolution number 267-05, authorizing submission of program income only application for funding for business assistance and micro enterprise programs not subject to the California Environmental Quality Act. Can we have a staff report from the Director of Community Development, Jen Dart, please?
Sure,
That was so
thank you.
fun saying that.
It's my first staff report as director, so this should be a pretty easy one. So the item before you tonight is a request to continue the city's business assistance and micro enterprise programs. Both programs assist with our small businesses in the community. We did apply for a grant in 2025, CDBG, Community Development Block Grant, and that grant was unsuccessful. So what we're coming to you today is to request program income, $500,000 of our current existing program income, to continue both of these programs, which are very successful, and an additional $200,000 in future receipts if we should go past the $500,000 in the timeframe of the grant. And it does require an application process, which our community development specialist, Sam, is working on and has been working on and came here to the meeting to provide any additional, answers to questions or things like that that she can provide. So that's pretty much the staff report. If you have questions, let us know.
Thank you to our Community Development Director, Jen Dart, and thank you, Sam, for working on that grant. All right, what do we have anybody here from council that would like to have any questions? So I did have a question. Will it be in Spanish? Would we be able to have that translated so that folks that are Spanish speakers could apply?
I think that that's something that we're working on for sure. We want to make sure that our programs are accessible. So that's really good feedback. Right now, I don't know that the program's designed that way, but we can make sure to add some additional pieces. There is, I think, money for updating our marketing materials for that will be included in the grant.
Wonderful, thank you for that. Do we have any members of the public waiting to comment on this item? Anyone online?
No, we do not have anyone online.
Okay, so unless there are other questions, do we have a motion from council?
I'll go back and make that motion again. I mean, that I started in the wrong one, looking in the wrong place. Adoption of resolution number 267-05, authorizing submission of program income only application for funding for business assistance and micro enterprise program, not subject to the California Environmental Quality Act, also known as CEQA.
May the clerk ask one question? I see here that it adds to authorize the city manager to execute all applicable documents.
You see, I'm reading off of my agenda, not off of the report, so you'll have to finish it up.
Well, I think Rhea just did. Are you okay with that?
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion from Councilmember Stillman, a second from Vice Mayor Atkins Salazar. All those in favor?
Aye.
And I say aye.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Thank
Thank
you.
you. And thank you, Sam, for staying. And just thank you, community development. I feel like you guys always bring other staff to the meetings, and it's really nice to hear from others. So thank you.
Okay, so that brings us to item F, public hearing on updates to the master fee schedule and adopt resolution number 267-10, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Arcata adopting changes to the city's master fee schedule. I will now open the public hearing, and may we have a staff report from the Assistant City Manager, Finance Director, Tabitha Miller, please.
So this is also just a modification to your fiscal year 26-27 budget that you adopted in June. You actually adopted the salary, the fee schedule in April because there's a waiting period until it goes into effect. We made just a few minor changes. Probably the biggest reason that this is coming before you is that we've adjusted the fees for the residential rental inspection program so that that can cover more of the cost to have that program in place. Additionally, we did some rounding on a few fees that were not rounded to the whole dollar and were causing actually my staff a few hiccups in applying them. And there's just a couple other minor fees that we added, and we actually reduced one fee. We had a credit check fee that the vendor that we were passing that through, we reduced it. So we've reduced that to an as a pass-through fee and not tied to a dollar amount. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them or explain anything else, but otherwise this is pretty simple.
Sounds like the reduction of the credit fee is a good problem to have, so.
It is. We
Yes.
don't have those as often as I
Okay.
think everybody would like.
Do we, well, I will close the public hearing, and then do we have any comments or a motion from council? Please add.
You closed the public hearing before
Yes,
we
okay,
opened.
so here we go. I am so sorry, Joanne. It's
That's
been a
okay.
day.
And I just, want to keep you on your toes.
Yes,
so-
no, please
My
do.
name's
I
Joanne
appreciate
McGarry,
that.
and if master fee schedule includes dog licensing, I just really, really, with all that's going on in the animal world in our county, really think responsible pet ownership really includes getting a dog license. And I don't know what the fees are right now, but if that's part of the master fee schedule, I just really want to say, if you're going to have an animal, you need to pay some money to do right by that animal, and that includes licensing it. So I just want to say that.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, nobody else in person. Let's see what we have online.
There's nobody online. Thank you.
All right, and now, here we go. If there's no other comments, do we have a motion? And I will now close the public hearing officially.
I will make a motion to adopt resolution number 267-10, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Arcata adopting changes to the city's master fee schedule.
I will second.
Aye.
Aye.
Here we go. Mic is on. All right, that brings us to oral and written communications. The council values your comments. The public comment period allows people to address the council on matters not on the agenda. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes each. Please know pursuant to the Brown Act, the council cannot discuss or take actions on items not listed on the agenda. The council may respond to statements. If you're in person, please step on up to the podium. And if you are on Zoom, webinar, or press *9 if you are on the phone line, if you'd like to make a public comment. Here we go.
Thank you. My last word tonight. My name's Joanne McGarry, and I did send an email. I hope you all received it because I'm trying something new to communicate with you by sending an email to the city manager email with hopes that they disperse it to the city council. So I had the 3 things that I like to talk about, and the first one was the fire we had, and I would really kind of appreciate just for our comfort level in the South H Street neighborhood to feel assured that we're doing everything we can to make sure that doesn't happen again, because it was called in and everything was fine and no homes were damaged, but a lot of people didn't even know about it because they weren't there. And so I just would like to just have a brief report now or at another meeting about what happened and what we can do to make sure we're better in terms of fire safety. Second one was a dog issue about Arcata Plaza and the farmer's market. One of the farmers had posted something that I reposted, and it got a lot of attention about dogs on the plaza, especially during the market, and that we do have a no dogs policy on the plaza all the time, and enforcement is lacking, and the service dog issue is an issue. So I just wanted to reiterate that. I think what I want to spend most of my time on is the third thing, though, because you just appointed people to some really important committees, and you heard reports from two committees today, on the Energy Committee and the Parks and Recs, and then we had Wetlands and Creeks election or appointment of someone, and I really want more citizens to really want to be more involved in the city. And so I know there's people who have issues that their expertise is in, or their interest is in, or their passion is for. And I know that other cities, including Berkeley, have a Peace and Justice Commission or committee that can handle probably initially some peace and justice issues, whether they're local issues of equity or discrimination or local things, but also that can deal with the global issues of peace and justice that impact our community, because global issues do impact our community. It's not something we should be ignoring, because the citizens are affected and they care. So I would really love for us to have a discussion about creating a Peace and Justice Committee. And I walked around today with my banner, and I didn't have anybody to help me hold it up, but it says, "We care about Palestinians." And I know that issue is going to be ongoing for many people in this community because they care.
Thank you for your comment. Do we have anyone online?
No, we do not.
Okay, thank you. Does the city manager have anything to report?
Just a couple brief items to touch on. I think a lot of people have noticed that the fire debris is getting cleaned up and just about complete. And the contractor's plan is to cover that site with plastic once it's removed. There was a former dry cleaner on one of the properties, and so the property owner has an engineer working on that. They have a grant, so they're going to be doing some remediation. And then the site will be turned back over to the property owners for redevelopment in the future. So there are no plans for that on the table. That's what everybody's asking now, not when is it going to be cleaned up, but when are they going to rebuild? And so that's really up to those property owners, and we'll see. And we'll do everything we can to help and encourage them along the way, like we did with the fire recovery. And sorry if I take this from one of our council members, but we will have our first Friday night market, and I'm really excited to go see that. And city staff has been working very closely with Humboldt Made on getting the Pulpo Magnifico there, and they're going to be building it on one of the city parking lots and then bringing it up to the plaza. So that should be exciting. And it's also really cool that Cal Poly Humboldt's going to be giving some meal vouchers to, I forgot how many 600 students to come, and to be able to have that be their first experience towards the beginning of the semester, to come down and have a meal at the Friday night market. It's going to be awesome. So really proud of Humboldt Made, Chamber of Commerce, and everyone for working on that. It'll be a fun time tomorrow. So head down to the plaza at 5.
Tomorrow's Thursday, though. That's okay. We're excited. Get there early.
If we stay here long enough, it will be tomorrow.
I was also told that Cal Poly Humboldt will have a shuttle for the students, so that's exciting that at least for the start of the first few markets, they're going to implement that. So I'm going to let you popcorn. Whoever has a burning desire, go ahead and share your council reports.
I'll just start because I'm here. And just because I want to reiterate how completely grateful I am to both Humboldt Made and the Chamber of Commerce and the City of Arcata, because this is going to be 4 Fridays. The first one's going to go till 10 o'clock. It's going to be, the love and care for the community that these two entities have put into planning this is really evident. Buy your VIP tickets. Meredith, I said it. It's going to be really great. I'm so excited. It was wonderful last year. I think it's going to be even more incredible this year. I had the opportunity to table at Move-In Day on Saturday, which is endlessly adorable. And then I moved my son back in. So welcome, students, and hope everybody comes down on Friday and all of the Fridays and all of the days. You're part of the community, and I know we're all really happy to welcome you. I ran the Humboldt Bay Half Marathon a couple weeks ago, but the Kevin Everett Memorial Run is this Saturday up in Redwood Park. There is a 12-ish K and a 2-mile run. And so come out and do that. It's fun to run in the forest. And I think that's it. I have my REDAC meeting on Monday, so I have nothing else to report.
I don't have much to report. Next week is all the meetings, Equity Arcata and our CEA. So more to come after that. And just thank you everybody for bearing with me. I was gone at our first meeting of this month. I had to travel back east for a funeral, and had freshman orientation this evening that went till 6 and couldn't get out. So it's the start of the school year. Bear with me while I feel a little crazy. And so thank you, council members, for letting me come in a little late tonight. And yeah, I guess I'll just leave it at that because I'll probably have more to say about other things at our next meeting.
Thank you. I attended the Road Use Charge Technical Advisory Committee that I sit on. It's actually the second to the last one. I think the committee has been going for maybe 12 years, and some of the members on it have been on it the whole time. I haven't. I've only been on it for 5, I think. The road use charge will still be going forward, but for some reason, the Technical Advisory Committee will not. And I just want to say that it's been a great opportunity to work with other elected officials from all over the state, and not only elected officials, but people in transportation and in like data privacy. And as we're trying to shift in a new mode, it's been a really great opportunity to see how thoughtful that these people are and how much they care about this change being fair and equitable and just all the things. So I that's been a really good experience to be on. I did have my Humboldt Waste Management Authority meeting. I was on a couple of offshore wind calls. Today, both Councilmember Stillman and myself attended the Homeless Service Working Group, and it was great because there was good information today. Usually it's been kind of gloom and doom lately, but some of the funding, there had been some restrictions by the federal government put on it, which was going to really tie things up and cause a big mess for our people. And those through the court systems, those restrictions have been halted. So our legal system does a good job of fighting back for us. I appreciate the state of California and fighting for our residents. I also want to thank the Humboldt Asian and Pacific Islanders organization for OBON. I know, Sarah, you were there too. Yeah. And I just appreciate that we get to have it here in Arcata. It's really fun. And I was appointed to the Resolutions Committee for Cal Cities. Wasn't something I applied for, so it was an appointment. So I'll say thank you. And I will need to make sure I'm at that part of the conference when we're there. And I think that's all for me. Thank you.
So I have this thought, and I'm going to just run through my list. Okay. First of all, we have quite a few documents. We have 3 scrapbooks in the back from the years of City Hall. We also have information about this building being built, and I think those all need to go up to the Cal Poly Special Collections documents. And usually when I send anything up there, I always put some money with it to allow an intern to be able to process the information. So I wanted, we have that little allocation of funding, and I was hoping that maybe we could put an allocation of funding towards it, like $100 or $150, and have our staff transmit that information up to Carly, who is in charge of the special collections. My second item is I think the Arcata Fire District needs to change their name. And that happened with Arcata Economic Development Corporation. It took them a long time to finally figure out, when they were representing like 4 counties, maybe 5 now, that they needed to change the name from Arcata Economic Development Corporation. So I think it's now North Edge. And I think that's been really valuable for them to have clientele feel more comfortable with them. I feel for the Arcata Fire District that they need to do that because they represent McKinleyville, and a lot of people in McKinleyville aren't aware of that, even though their master facility is in McKinleyville with all their staff. So that's the one. Across the street, I noticed, because we've been doing water work right over here, and it's a linear area, and I'm thinking, why can't that be a linear dog park? It's fenced in on both sides. Now they've gotten rid of so much vegetation in there, which was always a concern before, that dogs might get ticks because they were in there with the vegetation. With less vegetation, I'm wondering if there isn't some way to do it. There's double gates and a single gate going into there. Double gates could be, for maintenance, but the single gate, we could do something like we have out in Valley West for the dog park. I noticed on the HCOG agenda, so I was going to ask you, Kimberly, there was a discussion about the Bayside turnoff and how that was going to affect the fire department to get there. So maybe you can address that. And the other thing, I was asked to continue to bring up the idea of McKinleyville and Arcata looking at a joint city and creating one, because both of us have unique aspects, and together it would be really beneficial for us. So that's it. Thank you.
All right. So first, I would like to thank Vice Mayor Salazar for their service on the Road Use Charge Committee. And also congratulations for your resolutions appointment with Cal Cities. And also for service for those who are doing the homeless service working group. I would concur, or would like to piggyback on Alex for the special collection if we were able to do the maybe $100. And the misnomer for Arcata Fire District, I do hear you on that, and I've discussed this before with their board members, and it's going to be extremely costly to do that name change. So I think that is something to consider. And then as far as what I've been doing since our last council meeting, like Sarah, I've been out and about traveling for council-related duties. I had the opportunity, as I shared, I was going to be going to Washington, D.C. to participate in the Elected Officials to Protect America and be part of a broader Elected Officials to Protect the Earth community. And this was so much more than a conference. I got to connect with elected officials and leaders across the United States, as well as Brazil, Ukraine, United Kingdom, and other parts of the world, sharing ideas, experiences, and solutions for advancing climate action, clean energy, environmental protection, and of course, resilient communities. Just to say that climate change doesn't stop at the borders, and neither can our efforts to address it. I look forward to hopefully bringing some of these conversations and ideas into my work here in Arcata and Humboldt County, where the choices we make locally can contribute to a much larger global effort to protect our planet and create a healthier, more sustainable future. Also, I did get an opportunity through Congressman Jared Huffman's office, got an incredible private tour of our Capitol, and yesterday I started a 6-week certificate program with the EOP through the University of San Francisco on leadership and environmental climate solutions. I also participated in Cal Poly Humboldt's Back to Welcome Back event this past Saturday, staffing the City of Arcata table alongside Humboldt Transit Authority. We interacted with well over 100 students, providing bus schedules, Arcata maps, information of things to do and resources, and of course, inviting them to our Friday night market and helping students just connect with Arcata as their home away from home. Tomorrow, I will be attending the Humboldt Association, County Association of Governments, and I will report back to council about that on our next meeting. I also want to remind the community that the Planning Commission will continue its review of proposed updates to the Land Use Code at the next meeting Tuesday, August 25th at 5:30 p.m. And this is an important opportunity for community members to learn more about the proposed dates and participate in the process. And also, before we adjourn, I will have a few community announcements. Black Humboldt will be hosting a back-to-school block party at Slice of Humboldt Pie this Saturday, August 22nd from noon to 5. There will be free school supplies, haircuts, backpacks, gently used clothing, and non-perishable groceries, and along with music, games, and family fun. And as others have mentioned, of course, the Friday market begins on the plaza. I just want to extend a special welcome to all of our Cal Poly Humboldt students. We're glad to have you back in Arcata and hope students and community members alike will come out and enjoy the market, support our local businesses and vendors, and enjoy all what our community has to offer. The Humboldt County Fair also just wrapped up, and I hope everyone had an opportunity to visit the Earthquake Tsunami Preparedness booth by Redwood Coast Tsunami Working Group. It's a great opportunity to test your disaster preparedness knowledge, learn more about being ready for an emergency, and maybe even you want something to add to your disaster kit. Preparedness really is something that we can all take part in. This Saturday, not this Saturday, August 29th, Saturday, is Humboldt Del Nor International Overdose Awareness Day. And this is an important opportunity for our community to come together to remember those we have lost, support those affected by overdose, reduce stigma, and raise awareness about resources and support available to our community. There will be some Narcan trainings as well, so something maybe to check out. I also want to remind everyone about the upcoming Block Party Sanctuary Day on September 7th, a beloved Arcata tradition benefiting Central Day of Pueblo. The entire community, of course, is invited to come together and come make some history with the Block Party and Sanctuary Day and come celebrate our shared humanity and be part of something powerful, joyful, and deeply rooted in Arcata. And then finally, Kuna will be hosting a free rock painting workshop in collaboration with Providence and Paso, Michelle Rodriguez, and Ide Hopkins, Tuesday, August 25th from 4 to 6. Everyone is welcome, and as always, it is free. And I think that's all I have. I'd like to talk about the dates. Dates of future meetings and future agenda items. Schedule a joint study session with the Planning Commission for September 23rd, 2026 at 5 p.m. at the D Street Neighborhood Center for the purpose of discussing the housing element and affirmatively furthering fair housing. It has been determined that this tentative meeting date has a scheduling conflict, so we're not going to be moving forward with this scheduled study session at this time. However, the city manager's office will be repolling a new date, and we will provide that once that has been determined. And
May I interrupt?
Absolutely.
So just to confirm, with closed session that was hosted before the regular meeting, I believe the council met on 4 items total, and just wanted to confirm that there was nothing to report out.
There was nothing to report out. Thank you. So if that is it, I shall adjourn the meeting.